defensive-minded coach going to an offensive-minded team like Phoenix. Maybe there's a little imbalance there. I don't know. I don't want to speak as to something I don't know about of why. I just know that the reports are that he pulled his name out, and then they ultimately, or somebody ultimately hired Griffin. I don't know why he would pull out of the job. Again, it could be money. It could be that he thinks the Sixers are ahead of any other team that was wooing him as their next head coach and saying, I think they have a better chance of getting to where they are. Eastern Conference is in a bit of a tumultuous state, let's say. So I think the Sixers next year, their chances as good as anybody right now, I guess. Maybe that's what it was.
Pat, do you think the Eastern Conference over the Western Conference was the thing? That maybe he says, I got a better path in the East? Because I think the East looks a little muddled, like sort of rugged.
Yeah, I didn't think about that. I got to be honest, I would have probably chose both of those places over Philly, but I didn't think about the whole East factor. I mean, I would have went out to the West because it's easier.
I would think the West would be easier also. But as Bob says, though, for a defensive-minded head coach, I don't think you want to head to Phoenix with what they've got. I don't think that that's the necessary spot. But Nick Nurse, a guy who he reportedly, as he said, and I read it this morning too, pulls out of coaching Giannis to coach Embiid. I'm completely fascinated. I'm completely fascinated. Nick Nurse likes to play his starters long minutes. He is one of the guys in the NBA in his tenure that plays his starters the most minutes. That doesn't suit to Joel Embiid. He doesn't like to give starters games off. He is not a load management believer.
Either was Doc Rivers.
Yeah, and we saw that.
Yeah.
So does he come in here and swallow his pride and say, I'll do what you tell me to do? Are the Sixers doctors going to continue to coach this team?
Nick Nurse is the head coach of the team on the floor. It goes above his pay grade as to who's going to be on the floor night in and night out. So therein lies the problem, right? If there is a problem, if we're going to categorize it as
I'm just saying
problem,
is that he obviously don't you think he got some assurances that maybe things could be a little different for him? Because so reportedly it came down to Phoenix or here, and he pulled out of Milwaukee first.
Right, pulled out of Milwaukee. His assistant got that job. Assurances?
I wonder if he got assurances. They'd like, look, I'm not taking this job if I have the same shackles on me that Doc Rivers had put on him, where Doc Rivers had to totally abide. As Doc told us, he had to sit in a meeting, and he said it was a 45-minute meeting on load management, and it pissed him off.
I don't think that's going to change. I think that's the way of the NBA. I think many teams around the league, that's where they are. I don't think you give a guy like him any assurances of what? You're going to tell him, we've talked to Joel. He's going to play 80 games this year. We've talked to 33-year-old James Harden. He's going to do this. I don't think so. I think he probably killed it on the interview, which you would expect. Nick Nurse has been all over the world, and we'll get into that later on, obviously, as far as his coaching goes. He's 230 and 165 in his NBA career. That's really good.
It is good.
He's been out
and
of
he
the
hasn't had as much talent as the Sixers have had during that tenure.
Not even a little bit. He's gotten out of the second round. He knows what it's like to win in the playoffs, obviously having won a championship. He knows how to coach a star player. A lot of these things I like. Budenholzer, Frank Vogel.
I'm thrilled it wasn't Budenholzer. I am absolutely thrilled.
Frank Vogel was my first choice.
Oh, I did because I did not hear you say that.
No, you weren't around, but he was probably my first choice. I didn't have a problem if it was either one of those guys and throw Monty Williams in there also. I didn't have a problem with them. Look, you can talk X's and O's and this and that and the other. This team doesn't have a winning thing about them.
DNA. I've talked about the DNA of the franchise.
Don't. And for Boston losing Game 7 last night, okay, but they were down 3-0 and they came back. They have a winning attitude. They know how to win. Miami, obviously, knows how to win. There's other organizations. Milwaukee has done it. Do they still have it? We'll see. But the Sixers don't. They just don't have it right now. And if Nick Nurse can bring it, okay, it's more than X's and O's.
Pat, is this a troll job on Cooney's part?
What do you mean?
Look what colors he's wearing today.
What, green?
After the Game 7 loss by the Celtics. Now, I know it is your alma mater.
No, it's not a troll job. He came in here.
I think it was like after games 5 or 6 or something.
Yeah, same thing. And he was wearing Celtics green.
colors.
No, it's
He
not
had his
Celtics
Larry
green,
Bird
it's in the Catholic
jersey.
green.
And he was all Kevin
I
McHale
wore my
up.
Larry Bird jersey.
Yeah.
All right, question for you guys.
I love it.
Wait,
Yes.
let me see if it made
What
the
is the
show
question?
sheet. Hold on.
Okay,
No,
Bob's gonna-
you talk because
Bob's
I don't know
gonna
if it
check
made the show sheet.
How about doing
But
this?
I put this out there yesterday to my friends.
All right,
and my wife also.
How about help Firebird's wood-fired grill find a cure for childhood cancer? Join them during Lemonade Days, June 9th through the 11th. And all June long, you can donate to Alex's Lemonade Stand Foundation, which is a great, great cause, something you can get involved in. So
I can't ask it. It's
You
on
can't
the
ask
show
it. It's
sheet
on the
for
show
later
sheet.
on.
We're gonna
Yeah.
get to it.
It's a great question that I posed to a bunch of friends yesterday, even my wife, and I can't wait to hear your guys' answer.
right.
We're going to do it, I think, in the 8 o'clock hour.
All right, I asked Pat, did the Sixers get the best coach available in your mind? Who did you – Bob said he was going with – you were going with Frank Vogel, which I would have been – by the way, I would have been fine with over Budenholzer. I would have wanted Nick Nurse over Frank Vogel. I didn't think they were getting Nick Nurse.
Neither did I. I thought Nick Nurse would go to Phoenix. I think they got the best coach on the market. He was my first choice.
He was your first choice.
But I had no problems with Doc, and that didn't really work out.
I didn't
So,
either.
What the hell do I know?
No, I honestly, and that was one of the things while I was out, I was extremely disappointed with Doc being fired. I really was. I just, again, I think this organization scapegoated somebody. Once again, it's a scapegoat. That you're telling me Doc Rivers is to blame for Game 6 and 7?
It's easier to fire the head coach
Bull crap.
than change the roster.
Bull crap. Mr. Embiid, Mr. Harden. You are freaking to blame for Game 6 and 7. Not Doc Rivers. Doc Rivers didn't draw up you guys playing like crap and showing up with no heart, no desire, no fight, no energy. That is a bunch of crap. And if Doc Rivers in closeout games, bull crap is all I can say to that. Doc Rivers was scapegoated by this organization. Now, whether a change was necessary, I don't know. And Bob, you've observed a lot more of these teams on a day in, day out basis, especially around the NBA than I have, being a beat writer, being a columnist. Maybe a change was needed. Did you feel a change was needed?
I felt a change was needed, but I don't know if a head coach really matters here anymore.
Explain a little bit more. Is it because of the front office meddling?
No. I don't know if these players, as currently constructed, just have the it factor of knowing how to win.
I don't think they have the it factor.
And can
Joel
a coach,
Embiid does not have the it factor.
That's the common denominator, right?
He doesn't.
When
he doesn't
you
have
go
it.
back over the last 6 years, and we had this debate last week, when you go back over the last 6 years and try to figure out the players surrounding Embiid, the coaches, the general managers, X's and O's, all of those things, which are worthy discussions,
Absolutely.
no question about it, there's one common denominator. And I'm not saying it was funny, somebody labeled him as a loser last week.
Well, that's absurd.
And I said, no, he's not a loser. I don't think he knows how to win right now, or I don't think the organization knows how to win with him right now. There's just that it factor that they don't have. And what's the it factor? The it factor is you're up 2 points with 4.5 minutes to go in a Game 6 on your home floor. You figure it out. You find out how to do it. It's not by not giving Joel Embiid the ball the last 4 minutes of the game. There's just and look, it's a little hurdle it's a big hurdle. It's a big hurdle that you have to get over, and then maybe it starts coming, that you're in conference championships and all that all the time. But, God, they can't get over the hurdle.
Okay, just preview this for me, Pat, because I'm going to need a little preview. Because I really didn't, I would wake up, I would have around 15, 20 minutes where I was awake. I'd get on YouTube just to see you guys' faces. Got to interact with some of our YouTube folks, and I appreciate them very much. But then I'd be dozing off again. Are you in support of James Harden coming back?
Yeah.
Bob? I just want to know what camps we're going to be in as we embark on these discussions. Right today, are you part of him coming back?
I don't like straddling fences, but I'll say I don't know if there's anything else you can do.
Okay.
So
no, that's
therefore,
fair. That's fair. But are you in support of it?
I'm in support of it because I don't see anything better that they can do.
I absolutely can agree with that sentiment, but I am absolutely not in the camp of saying bring back James Harden.
Yeah.
I am not in that camp. And if you think that some magical fairy is going to come down and sprinkle dust or point at the wand at James Harden and turn him into something different when pressure's on, when games matter, when pressure matters, when playoffs matter, I think you're nuts. I think you're freaking nuts. And I don't know what more you need to see. And I don't know what more people need to figure out that about when a guy's 34, 35, 36, that they're not more likely to do it than when they were 28, 29, 30. I don't understand it. And people are going to continue to kick this can down the road. And as Pat said, though, it may be the only option. As you say, it may not be a better option. There may not be a better option.
Unfortunately, the free agent market's bad.
It is bad.
It's not the way you want to go. I would love to say, yeah, that's the way you have to go, or no, I can't say definitively because if they do go another way, what way are you going?
Well,
as Pat said, there's just no other way. Now, does James Harden all of a sudden, does he become like that old man point guard? I think James Harden's basketball IQ is really good, but can he become like that old man, I'm passing the ball, I'll score you 14, 16 points a night, but I make teammates better? I don't know. Michael Jordan didn't win a championship until, we heard it all the time, until his late 20s, 8th year in the league, whatever. Can there be a turn in James Harden? I don't know, but it's almost like when you're sitting there and something's presented to you and you can't change it, well, then you have to make that work, and I think that's where you are.
I think James Harden is 2 steps from a place for mom, honestly. Like, let alone, are you talking about, he can't string together 3 games. He can't string together 3 performances with days off where you need him to be playing at playoff level. He can't do it. He's not going to do it at 35, 36, 37.
I was just shocked at the ups and downs, and you and I haven't had a chance to talk about it.
And it was crazy.
I mean, 48 points, carries a team,
right.
45 points in 2 games, completely carried a team, and then is absent in another couple of games. These playoffs were weird. We saw Jason Tatum appear and disappear, not only against the Sixers, but against Miami.
We saw Jimmy
Butler
slide in the Eastern Conference Final.
Is great some days, not good in others. So what's it come to? It comes around your supporting cast. The names that I mentioned, do they have a Joel Embiid next to them? No, James Harden did. I'll still take that too, I think, over anybody in the East, but not the way they performed in the playoffs against Boston.
That Game 7 performance pissed me off.
Yeah, it should have.
I went into
So
surgery.
should Game 6.
I went into surgery pissed. Well, I was at Game 6. That pissed me off. Then Game 7 pissed me off worse. I went into surgery saying, just put me out. Here, can I have that? Can you knock me out, please? Because I was complaining about the Sixers right until I went under. And so it was great. Thanks to the folks at Brevard Hospital. Appreciate them big time. Hey, Bet Pro Hoops playoffs on BetParks Casino and Sportsbook app, the official sportsbook partner of the Real Philly Sports Fan. You got to be 21 in Pennsylvania or Jersey. Gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLERS. So quickly, too, Phillies, I think a good weekend despite what happened Sunday night in Atlanta. You go to Atlanta for a 4-game series, you're reeling, and you split the series. To me, I'm totally fine with that, especially when you throw a tomato can out on the mound for Game 4 of that series. I have no problem with a split in Atlanta. None at all.
Me neither. And I think Trey Turner's turning the corner a little bit.
I hope so.
Yeah.
Hope so.
Throwing a Covey out there in the 4th game of a series, you're kind of like,
No, you're not a fan of that? You don't like that?
Yeah. We talked about it last week.
Pat, how did you like it? I want to hear the words that were out of your mouth in the first inning.
I would like to storm into Dave Dombrowski's office and just, at this point, flip a table and start, smashing stuff because this is absolutely absurd.
We walked in and watched like a Dateline after the first inning.
Oh, yeah?
Walked in from being outside. I had the game on pause so I could come in and watch it. And I start watching that first inning, and then we watched a Dateline. I'm like, I can't watch this crap.
Was the Dateline episode how the Phillies have just, completely lost their 5th starter and they don't know where he is, and they're trying to find him and he's missing? Is that the episode?
That wasn't the episode. The episode is, though, Pat.
But they couldn't find him. Where did he go?
They're 1 game better than they were last year at this time.
All right, there you go. There's progress.
They're 1 game better. That's pathetic.
Makes me
That's
feel
pathetic.
good.
I'm fired up. We got a lot of things we're going to get to today, and a lot of people. It's been 2 weeks, Pat.
It's been bottling up.
I had to do my show to like Nikki Foles.
As Jamie would say, you're backed up with the evil right now.
I am a little bit. You want to get in with us? We want to hear your thoughts on the Nick Nurse hire. 610-632-0975. And I want to hear your answer to the question. Why would he choose to coach Joel Embiid and James Harden potentially over Giannis or over Kevin Durant or those situations? 610-632-0975. It's the John Kincade Show. Good to be back with you here.
The Fanatic everywhere. On Alexa at 975thefanatic.com, the Fanatic app, and now on Odyssey. Now, back to the John Kincade Show on 97.5 The Fanatic, Philadelphia.
Hopefully everybody's had a great Memorial Day weekend, a little restful time, a little reflective time, and ready to get rolling again. A short week. I always think of the short week thing. Is 4 days really a short week?
In other countries, it's a normal week.
It's a shorter week.
Shorter than what we are accustomed. Who came up with the 8 hours, 5 days a week kind of stuff? Like, where do these numbers come from?
Wasn't
like Chuck.
Henry Ford?
I'm sorry?
Didn't Henry Ford
I think it was Ford,
the
right?
model of the 5-day work week because it went from 7 to 5. Because the rumor is he wanted to give 2 days to let people shop to boost consumerism.
Wow, that's good knowledge by you, Pat.
Pretty sure. That's
Pat, what is it with you in history?
It just stupid.
No, but what?
Stupid,
Why
stupid
did
facts always?
Who
stuck
was
with me.
the teacher though that spurred your love of history?
Well, let me just say there was no teacher.
There was no teacher
No.
that spurred your love of it?
No, I always liked history back to like grade school.
Okay.
And 99% of my grade school teachers sucked. So it certainly wasn't one of those. And then I always liked my history teachers in high school.
I had great history
Mr.
teachers
Hagen
in
was
high
cool.
school.
He was cool. Who else do I have? Mr. Beck was cool.
I had
a lot of good ones.
I had Nick Latari. God rest his soul.
What do you say, Nick?
Mr. Latari. Well, he's gone now, but we loved him. He was awesome. Father Corkery. Take out your notes. He never had a book. He just lectured. Never had a book.
I had a
Russian
theology
history. He was
teacher.
awesome.
Really?
Oh my God, he had great stories, and he made Russian history come alive. Like absolutely, European history was spectacular with Father
I
Corkery.
never had European history.
Didn't make you
I
take
did.
that?
I had it with Mr. Gahagan in my freshman year.
Okay, do you like him?
Yeah.
It's good,
Like
yeah?
that whole history wing of Doherty with you had a murderer's row of Highland, Gahagan, and Beck, and it was great.
And they were great.
Oh, phenomenal
Love
guys.
that.
A murderer's
I
row?
love that.
Yeah, it was. It was a murderer's
Murderer's
row
row.
of history teachers.
I kind of like
Hey,
that.
if you are one of our early risers and Friday morning you wanted to take off or go into work a little bit late and join us for our first Friday broadcast, why don't you give Connor a call right now? It's at 215-263-0975. 215-263-0975. And Connor can get a guest, you and a guest. We'll have two of you. First two callers that want to come on Friday. We would love to see you for our first Friday broadcast. It's all driven by David Auto. Just go to our website, 97.5thefanatic.com. You can find out more information. But the first two callers, if you want to come in on Friday, you want to bring you and a guest, you want to go into work a little bit late or something, have a little breakfast. Pat, I believe that your friends are going to be here with Nifty 50s.
Yes, that's the only reason I'm showing up.
Makes you very happy. So if you
Not
wanted to
showing
get
up
in
for
this
you two
morning
guys.
and you're free, 215-263-0975. Connor can get you a pass if that is the case. Again, we'll have plenty on Nick Nurse. If you want to share your thoughts on Nick Nurse and the hiring at 610-632-0975, you may. I got to tell you this, Kendrick Perkins in a cut from the overnight talked about the fact that he loves the Nick Nurse hire for the Sixers, and he likes him for a specific reason. Let's hear why.
You're bringing in a championship coach that knows his stuff, that guys respect. And when it comes down to Nick Nurse and his adjustments, I think he's one of the best in the game. When it comes down to him putting guys in position to be successful outside of the superstars, he's one of the best in the game. And I think Joel Embiid agreed with this coaching hire. Now, all of a sudden, you could have a guy that could deal with the personnel that they have if they decide to bring James Harden back, that could also put in a system defensively that could benefit the Philadelphia 76ers if they decide to sign him back.
Joel Embiid's an amazing defensive player. Literal game changer. But James Harden? Tyrese Maxey? And I love Maxey's game, but Maxey? Does Nick Nurse have the personnel on this roster to play this, like, amazing defensive style that he likes to play? He plays a lunch. His team, Bob, is it unfair to say they sort of have a lunch pail approach to playing defense? They do a lot of switch ups, a lot of moving parts, I don't see that on the Sixers personnel.
Yeah, it's twofold, and the column later on is going to hit on this also.
Good.
You have to come in, look at the team, and see what best fits them as far as your talent, as far as your foot speed, all of those things. You also have to bring in a scheme that you're comfortable with, and make the players like a Tyrese Maxey learn how to play that scheme. Can you teach it to older players? Look, Joel Embiid, you can put back there and say, be a rim protector. And I have no problem with that. When he wants to be an elite rim protector, he can be. There's questions abound about other players on this roster, whether Nick Nurse can get them to play either the type of defense that he wants, or schematically him come up with a defense that best fits the kind of talent that he has on that side of the ball.
I'm just a little surprised. I don't see the personnel being for a defensive-minded head coach looking at this roster going, oh, yeah, this is the roster you want to play a defensive style with. I don't buy it.
Look, Doc Rivers put something in the series against Brooklyn that I really liked, that I'd been pining for a long time, and that was a matchup zone.
Yes.
And I thought it worked well. And you can teach how to play defense. You can teach a defensive scheme. We see Miami do it each and every night. Eric Spoelstra, he'll throw out a different defense almost every quarter, and they play it. Why? Because he teaches it well. You can teach somebody how to play defense. Now, the will to want to play defense is something different altogether. I think Miami always has that will to play. It's a deeper thing with this Sixers. Do they? Do they have that will to play a way that they're taught? I don't know.
Little curveball, Pat. I want to go right to Cooney's Corner because Bob talks about something that I'm very much interested in, and it's sort of the next level of the discussion of Nick Nurse being hired as the head coach.
Now, let's see what's in Cooney's Corner.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting with Nick Nurse. Now, we talked earlier about why did he choose Philadelphia?
Yes, that's what I'm wondering about.
There's some pretty cool pieces. If you're an outsider looking in, we're so dived into this team right now that we're upset, we're pissed off, whatever it may be. But if you're an outsider looking in, you see, MVP and Joel Embiid. Man, love to work with him. That kid Tyrese Maxey had to play against him 4 or 5 times a year. God, he's hard to stop because he's so fast. Your fourth piece on the team is a guy, Tobias Harris, probably the best fourth piece in the NBA. James Harden, okay, he had a few bad playoff games, and we know the playoff history, and I'm talking as a coach coming in, an outsider looking in, you're probably saying, I can get a couple years out of him. My God, I saw him go off for 48 and 45 against Boston. Yeah, he crapped the bed in some other games, but I think I can get the best out of him. It's an enticing place to be. It really is, as a head coach. So I understand that. Now the next thing is, can the star player be a star player under your system? Well, Kawhi Leonard was. Kawhi Leonard was that number one alpha dog that Nick Nurse got out of him when Toronto won the championship. How about your side pieces? What are they like? Well, he grew a Fred VanVleet.
Yes, he did.
He grew a Pascal Siakam. Yeah, he grew a Gary Trent Jr. He can grow some players, too. So there's kind of, when you look at Nick Nurse, that's what you're looking at. How does he do with superstars? How does he do with side pieces? We already mentioned his record is phenomenal in coaching. I already mentioned that he knows how to win in playoffs. You don't just win a championship out of nothing.
Doc won one, though.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, back in 2008.
And went to the finals 2 years after.
Yeah. But a winning pedigree is a winning pedigree, and I think Nick Nurse has that right now. My biggest thing when they hired him was, okay, how does he relate to those type of players? Superstars, guys on the side, younger players. And they all kind of check the box. They all do. Superstars are superstars under him. Side players, secondary pieces are really good under him. Growing younger players has happened under him. All right, those are good boxes to check. Whether the Sixers can relate that to a second-round win, getting to an Eastern Conference Finals, whatever it may be, I think it just relies on the organization and the mentality of the players that they currently have.
Pat, 12 months ago, 13 months ago, we all hated Nick Nurse.
I mean, I'm still probably there if I'm being. If you give me.
And you and him wear similar glasses.
I don't really. Yeah, he just rubs me the wrong way.
We
but
hated
you know
him.
what?
Now he's our guy.
There's a lot of players that have been like this for me, and all of a sudden, winning cures all. So
that's the truth, right?
Let's see what. Yeah.
Who would be an example, Pat, of somebody who coming in, you couldn't stand them? Because I got to tell you, I did not dig Nick Nurse. As I hated his whining and crying about every single call. I think he's one of the biggest politicians on a sideline, lawyers on a sideline that I've seen in the NBA.
I made some phone calls yesterday. Believe me.
I believe it.
You're not the only one.
And by the way, what team needs calls? A team that has Joel Embiid and James Harden.
I'm sure the refs are looking forward to that.
I'm sure.
That triumvirate.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, I mean...
Anybody?
Yeah, probably. I mean, the one that came to mind, it's a little random, but when the Phillies signed Pedro Martinez in 2009...
It's not a bad one.
I was like, screw this guy. So he's a Met.
And then you loved him.
Yeah, and the next thing you know, he's Uncle Pedro, and I loved him. He's great. So it's amazing what happens when winning. When winning, takes place, it makes you change your opinion on some people. I mean, I won't. It wasn't me, but a lot of people. It was that was the way that they were for Charlie Manuel. They didn't like Charlie Manuel, and then all of a sudden,
I didn't.
He's Uncle Charlie.
I didn't dislike Charlie Manuel because I had no opinion on him. But I said, really, Charlie Manuel? That's the hire.
Probably the popular opinion.
I wasn't a detractor. I was just like, really? We're going Charlie Manuel? Who the hell's Charlie Manuel? I mean, I knew his name. It's very similar to the reaction I had when they hired Andy Reid. Who the hell's Andy Reid? Who the hell's Doug Peterson to be hired as head coach? So I'm going to take that as I think Nick Nurse comes in with much more of a pedigree, but Bobby, I've never liked his whining. Never liked it.
As I said, making some calls yesterday, the league doesn't like it either, shall we say. Okay, we're going to have to look past that because now he's whining for us, so he's fighting our fight. So,
exactly.
Okay, now we're on board.
I don't mind him kicking fans out of games.
But it's funny when you bring up who's somebody you didn't like and you brought in here and then you had to like him. It wasn't me personally, but I was covering the team at the time. The emails that I got when the Sixers signed J.J. Redick was people did not like J.J. Redick. Because if you go back and think about it, people hated him at Duke.
Well, no, I know that, but
yeah, I mean his game fit. Now we're looking at it afterwards. His game fit well with Joel Embiid. He probably had his best career year here with Joel Embiid and all that. But people just didn't like him. The emails that I got were funny.
I'm surprised by that just because there was a swirling around the fan base that was the signing. To go out there and sign J.J. Redick.
Three-point shooter,
so I'm a little surprised because I was under the assumption that it was very popular amongst the fan base, but maybe it was just popular amongst process people. But to the Sixers' point of a guy that I didn't really like before he got here, Seth Curry.
Okay.
Seth Curry just always bothered me.
Really?
That's
a good one.
He kind of carries himself like he kind of mean mugs everybody. He's wearing a T-shirt. Mainly, though, it bothers me that he left Davidson for Duke, and I just thought that was a rat move. But then he started hitting threes for the Sixers, and I loved him.
John and I have the ultimate, though. You and I, during our lifetime, have the ultimate hate the guy, comes here, and then you love him. Pete Rose.
Pete Rose, absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, 38-year-old Pete Rose comes here to put the Phillies over the top, and you're like, I hate Pete Rose.
Man.
And then he comes here and they win a world championship a year later.
I got to tell you, I didn't like T.O. until they signed him.
John, Coach literally just said, what about T.O.?
Well, T.O., I did not like T.O. at all.
And I scoffed at him and said only idiots didn't like T.O.
Well,
I'm on
next thing you know,
John side on this one.
I didn't like him. I didn't like him.
I thought it was, oh, God. I don't know of a signing besides when I was a little kid that I loved more. Or trade, rather, than them getting T.O.
I remember being in, it kind of all comes full circle with school, but I remember being in Spanish class, and my Spanish teacher at the time, Mr. Spicer, wrote 81, and then he said it in Spanish, obviously, because that was the language we were speaking at the time, John. And he said, oh, this is the guy we're hoping to get, and I laughed it off and was like, they're not getting T.O.
How do you say 81 in Spanish, Pat?
Ocho
Uno?
Ocho Cinco?
No, Cinco's 5.
Ocho Uno?
Ocho Uno? I don't know.
I don't know. Is that 81?
I don't know. I did run into Mr. Spicer at a lacrosse game, a Wings game this past season, and I was like, yeah, you taught me Spanish. I don't speak it, though.
I remember you telling me
You
that.
taught me
story.
Spanish, but I don't speak it.
I said hola.
He remembered you, right?
Yeah, he kind of like looked at me and I said hola, and I said, it's a fine. I don't speak Spanish either. It was like a little joke because he was my Spanish teacher.
I guess just because we didn't laugh didn't mean we didn't get it.
doesn't mean he wasn't funny.
We
Enough of you,
not good. Not
jackass.
good. Hey, train for a career in broadcast media, web development, social media marketing, and filmmaking. You could be the next Connor Thomas, the next Devon Givens, the next Tom Alvord. Go to CSB Media Arts Center in Cherry Hill, New Jersey. GoCSB.com. That's GoCSB.com. Now, Bob, there was some bad news from the doctors that I've had to deal with, and it may be the biggest bad news that I've had to deal with for this entire couple weeks. No golf.
That's good news for the golf courses, but not for you.
I was going to guess no enema.
No, the enema's been, Pat, the enema took care of itself. No problem at all. No golf. 2023. No golf season for me.
Huh.
Really?
No pool season.
Really?
Yeah, no pool. Because when you start chemo, I'll start my chemotherapy 2 weeks from tomorrow. Next Tuesday, I'll have my port put in. But chemotherapy really affects you in direct sunlight is terrible. So
Can you swim inside?
You're going to be looking like the guy from Powder.
I'm going to be pasty.
Maybe you can walk. I would always think that a pool is good for rehabilitation as long as you take it. If you can get an indoor pool, would they encourage that?
An indoor pool you could.
Okay, yeah.
Now the problem is like right now,
What about the ocean?
I want to go swimming right now, but I can't because my incisions haven't completely healed. My the stick-on bandages over the stitches are still in place. They haven't totally fallen off, so I can't go in a pool yet either. I was hoping, I'll go in the pool for a couple weeks before chemo starts, and these damn Band-Aids won't come off. Well, they're not Band-Aids, but they're like incisions.
Close your
Won't
eyes
come
and Pat and I'll rip them off. Don't worry.
Oh, jeez.
Take care of that.
No, I'm afraid that it'll rip open the incision. I said, I don't want that.
If you're a fake pool guy, you're a fake pool guy. I mean, there's nothing we can do about it. If you're not about that pool life, it's fine.
I'm about the pool life.
No, it
I want
doesn't
to get
seem
in.
like it. If you were about the pool life, you wouldn't give a rat's ass about decisions.
Hey, experience thrills and make a splash with the Fanatic Deal of the Week. Get one same-day ride and water park ticket to Maury's Piers for just $70. Unlimited rides on all three piers and access to both water parks. Check it out now at 97.5thefanatic.com, keyword deal. Get your combo ticket before they're gone. Supplies are very limited. That's a great deal. Liv and her friend Sophie, they used them last summer. Loved it.
Nice.
Spent the day, did the rides, did the water park.
Connor did some damage in Wildwood this weekend, from what I hear.
Did some damage.
What was her name?
Well, I didn't say that, Pat.
Her nickname is Damage, Pet.
Oh, okay. His nickname is Damage.
Her nickname. Could be.
Wow. I was just going to say he had fun down there. You guys went a totally different route.
I bet he
on
did.
me.
I bet he did.
Pat wants to ask about Nick Nurse and whether it means this is absolutely a fait accompli. Pat didn't study French, so he wouldn't know that. John
The Fanatic. Now, back to the John Kincade Show on 97.5 The Fanatic, Philadelphia.
John Kincade Show on Tuesday morning after Memorial Day weekend. Good to be back with you. It's the bedhead sale at Mattress Warehouse. Come in with your best or worst bedhead and save up to 50% on any mattress. Visit mattresswarehouse.com. So you got to come in with bedhead. Bob, what would be bedhead for you? What would be
it'd
bedhead?
Be hard
Just
to detect anymore. When I was a kid, it was very easy.
it was easy.
Yeah, because
like an
I had
alfalfa,
very,
like up.
No, I had very thin hair.
That's changed.
Bleached blonde hair. No, but I
You
mean,
were a towhead?
I didn't have like you could. I couldn't comb my hair.
Oh,
It just fell. So when I woke up in the morning, the back of it would be sticking up like crazy. Yeah.
I picture you as Dennis the Menace.
Something like that. Yeah,
Like just floppy.
yeah. It was that. I had that floppy beach blonde hair. Yeah.
Coach, you never have bedhead because you have you put the product in, you get your hair looking sharp.
No, I bedhead all the time.
You have bedhead?
Oh, yeah.
Not when you go out of the house, though.
No, not when I get out of the house. But anytime, during the day, if I happen to be doing anything other than just sitting here, the product is so sticky that you could just lean up against the wall and all of a sudden your hair's sticking up.
You're sticking to it.
I don't know how I have the courage to keep on living every day with this.
Hell, you using your hair?
It's like, is it
It's called Hero.
is it like a paste?
Yeah, it's
Okay.
You use something called Hero?
Uh-huh.
That's ironic.
Pat, you ever use product in your hair besides like shampoo and stuff?
Yeah, when if I'm not wearing a hat, yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
You've seen
use
me.
that.
You've seen me with like stuff in my
You
hair.
use that
No, your
little.
hair's always- your
you
hair
use that
always
little.
usually looks great.
You have like the little circular container, a
I
little
don't know. I'm not-
pomade. They call it a.
Yeah,
what do they call it? Pomade
I
or
don't
something?
know,
I
pomade.
don't know. Pomade. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I got
Live Aid,
something
pomade.
I got something from CVS, and I put it in there.
There we go.
I never used a hair product
Ever?
I know you're making fun now because I'm
No,
follically challenged, but I didn't used to always be, Pat. But never use that. Never blow dry my hair once.
I never use blow dry.
Blue dry. Past tense of blow is blue. I never blue dried my hair.
There's a lot of jokes that I could
I never.
could say
about you,
there. I'm
blow
just gonna
dryer?
hold off.
Pat?
I also
Blow dryer?
never used a blow dryer.
No,
Never used blow dryers.
I could see Coach back in the '80s.
Towel
using a blow
dry.
dryer.
Towel dry only.
Coach, absolutely. Fresh off his perm. Yeah, he's using the hair. He's
Coach did
using
that.
the blow dryer.
Perm.
Absolutely.
I don't have a blow dryer.
You
Yeah.
did back in the day. There's no
did.
question in my mind.
And it was probably shaped like a gun. It's probably like a
Yeah.
pistol blow dryer.
Yeah, you're probably right.
All right,
Yeah,
Connor a
uh-huh.
blow dryer guy or not?
I would say in his day, yes, he had.
I would
think
say
he still
yes.
is his day.
I
What
think
am
he
I
has
talking
one,
about?
but he hasn't used it in a while.
You don't think he's used it in a while?
But I think he has one at the ready, just in case.
Just in case he needs.
For in case of emergency.
Hey,
It's my emergency blow dryer.
Press here.
Hey, yeah, exactly. Hey, First Friday broadcast, free breakfast. You come and join us in studio on Friday morning. We'd love to see you.
I tweeted out the link of that, by the way. It's
Oh,
on
very good.
Our Twitter account for the show.
You want to come on out? We'd love to see you on Friday. Be a good time. Have a little breakfast. Join us. It's all brought to you by David Auto, driven by our friends at David Auto. In Pat's point of view, more on Nick Nurse. And he wants to know if this is a precursor to this.
This is Pat's point of view. Here's Pat.
Hi, guys.
Hi, Pat.
For a lot of Sixers fans, myself included, I think Nick Nurse was the number one target. But I don't know about you guys. I kind of was like, well, he's a pipe dream. He's going to end up picking Milwaukee or
I thought he'd go to
Phoenix.
Milwaukee.
Yeah, one of the two. And when he pulled his name out of the Milwaukee job, it was fresh off of having dinner with Matt Ishbia, the new Suns owner. And I thought, okay, well, he's going to the Phoenix. And I kind of just accepted the fact that it'll be either Frank Vogel or Monty Williams, and whatever. Doesn't really matter at that point. It's fine. But when they got Nick Nurse, like, I guess my ears kind of perked up, or I blinked a couple times, and it was a little surprising. And I thought, does this mean that James Harden is likely to come back? Because if you're Nick Nurse, why would you take this job with a roster so in flux that you don't even know who your point guard's going to be? So did the Sixers pitch him on the fact that they have some inside info, which you would expect? Daryl Morey is very close with James Harden. Or does this have to do with the relationship between Nick Nurse and Harden? Maybe they have a past. Nick Nurse had a past with Daryl Morey from Houston, and that would lead you to believe that Nick Nurse would have a past with James Harden from Houston. So is it a situation, do you think, that one leads to the other, or is it just Nick Nurse preferred to coach Joel Embiid over anybody else?
I'm hoping that this is about coaching Joel Embiid and putting together a roster around him that actually can play a defensive style of basketball that Nick Nurse excels in. I'm hoping this doesn't mean I do not want to watch James Harden again. I don't.
So who do you want to watch a point guard then?
Well, no. I absolutely understand what you're saying, Pat. But I just am not going to fool myself into saying, poof.
Yeah,
James Harden now is going to be a different player when the pressure's on. I don't believe he will be. I'm not buying into it.
Yeah, I hear you.
I can't.
I understand.
Pat and I we hear you, and you're right.
But there's nothing better.
No
you're
other
saying.
choice.
Yeah, there's just not.
And that's not disagreeing with you at all.
No, I get you.
It's just, man, there's nothing else. Now,
they're backed up into a corner.
They are.
Talk about backed up with the evil.
If you're a coach in any league, anywhere, any place, and somebody says, "Here, you can have the best player this year on your team to coach. Do you want that?" I think everybody would say, "Sure, give me the best player." So he got that. In James Harden, is it something that he can change? I don't know. It's hard to change somebody that's 34 years old that's been in the league for 15 years and done what James Harden did. Can you change their desire? Can you change a style of play? Now that's the key. That's the unwritten. You can talk about X's and O's all you want. This team, I'm sorry, you could have Nick Nurse, you could have Chris Quinn, you could probably have Budenholzer. You name your coach. What's currently constructed, they should go out and win 50-plus games again this year.
They absolutely
There's no question in my mind. Can you get them over that hump that is staring them straight in the face that has been there for the last 6-7 years in that they can't get past the second round? I don't know. Maybe he is the guy. Maybe he knows what the recipe is to get out of a second round more so than any other coach they've had here, be it Brett Brown or Doc Rivers. I don't know. I think with this team, you're looking more from a coach than just X's and O's. You really are.
Oh, psychiatrist, Pat? Is that more the...
Maybe a little bit. I mean, you definitely need a culture change, but that leads me to my initial question. Like, why did he pick
I don't understand
this job? It's like you're dealing with a fan base that at this point is either broken or apathetic.
Or
you're dealing with a roster that is completely in flux. You're dealing with a team that hasn't got out of the second round in years and a lot of pressure that comes with it. And Phoenix and Milwaukee had better rosters. You know, that's the luxury of being the number one coaching candidate on the market, or at least one of the two, is you get to pick your destination. He was able to pick his destination. So why in the world would he pick here when they don't have a point guard right now? Their point guard, Shake Milton, he's a free agent. Like, so I just can't help but think he was pitched something that made him pull completely his name out of the Milwaukee job and then the Phoenix job.
I think it's a little extreme to say, why in the world would you pick here?
Money, though? I mean, the thing is, are we ever going... Do you ever learn money with coaches? Truly what they're paid?
Well, Doc's was put out there that it was 5 for 40. And I think that was a good payday. But I hear what you're saying, but do you agree with me, though, Pat, after you said it, that saying, why would you pick here is a little extreme? I mean,
you're talking to a guy that's broken by this team, so no, I don't think it's extreme.
Okay, outsider looking in, though.
They have the MVP, but other than that, I mean, you have the MVP in Maxine. What else? You're out of assets. You don't have a lot of cap space. Like, if they lose James Harden, it's an uphill battle. I mean, all we keep hearing from people is, well, they're going to have to get creative. That's exactly what every fan base wants to hear, right? Hey, you're so screwed in terms of having anything regarding assets or money that you need to get creative to form a roster. Wow, can't wait.
Would either one of you be okay with taking a step back to take a step forward?
How long is the step back?
Like if Nick Nurse and the organization felt if we took a step back for a year, we can make some moves, we can make some maneuverings, and I can lay a foundation and then be ready to go in 24-25.
Well, I'm so glad you asked that because luckily they have pick swaps.
Yeah.
Although they don't have it,
they
Brooklyn
don't.
has
Yeah,
it. So
Brooklyn has it.
even if they're bad, your draft pick isn't going to be great.
No, it's not.
Although Brooklyn's going to be worse, so they wouldn't pick swap likely. And then in terms of taking a step back with the roster, like hypothetically speaking, you take a step back. Let's say you're the 7th seed. You're picking middle of the road in the draft. You're picking like 21st, 22nd. Not great, but you found success there with Tyrese Maxey, albeit in a bubble COVID kind of year. You have cap space, but my big thing, and I brought this up, John, when you were away, that they have failed time and time again to attract high-level star talent to this city. I mean, they have struck out repeatedly on the veteran buyout market.
Yep.
They did it this past year with Kevin Love, who apparently made the right decision, but at the time, you're like, dude, you're picking the 8th seed? Picking the Miami Heat over the 3 seed and Joel Embiid? Well, he picked right. But it's just like this, for whatever reason, this city, this organization does not attract stars. So you can have all the cap space, but my fear would be they end up giving a horrible contract a la what Portland gave Evan Turner years ago. Where
Could it be the star player, the star players that other stars don't want to play with?
What, like Kyrie?
Like people don't want to go like Kevin Love going, I don't trust playing with Harden and Embiid.
Oh, okay.
Because I look at that as more of a indictment on them than I do the organization.
It's a fair question when you pose it as such.
As the veteran buyout market, I say, I'm going to choose who my teammates are. I don't want to be teammates with Harden. Harden's, I mean, like,
I got to look at him up, but one of the Brooklyn Nets recently said James Harden was the best teammate he ever had.
Yeah,
and Bob's talked about how people say hard worker.
Yeah, and Tyrese Maxey, I think, has really prospered being under him, and he's talked about it, how much of a leader Harden is to Maxey. I don't know. I think it all centers around Joel Embiid.
Right.
And I'm not saying people don't want to play with Embiid, whatever. I think people question, does Joel Embiid have the type of game that can win in the NBA? Meaning, do coaches know how to coach a team with him? Do other players know how to play with him? It's not a knock on Joel Embiid. It's like I said, it's a fair question.
7 a.m. hour brought to you by the all-new BetParks app. Sportsbook and casino in one sleek, easy-to-use app in Pennsylvania and New Jersey. By the way, Keith Jones will be in studio today with Anthony Gargano at noon. A little chance to catch up with the Cuz and the new president of the Flyers, Keith Jones, will be in studio today.
It's cool.
With Jonesy. I think it is cool. It'll be an interesting conversation. Look forward to that. So,
it's a conversation. It's not an interview. Let's not forget that.
No, it'll be a conversation. It's always a conversation with Jonesy anyway. So, and Christina heading up to Parks today because Liv starts her summer job. And it's up, their corporate headquarters is up near Parks. So she was like, oh, good. Well, I'm going to go visit Parks Casino a little bit. So the envelope Bob was waiting for her this morning.
How do you like that, Pat?
Yeah, a little envelope to go
Christina
to Parks
said, I'm gambling, and John said, I got you covered.
Got you covered. Little envelope right there. There's always a Parks envelope in the safe ready to go.
That must be nice.
Ready to go.
I don't have that luxury when I go to the casino.
Andrew in Phoenixville joins us on The Fanatic. Andrew, good morning, buddy.
Good morning, gentlemen. Hope everybody had a good holiday weekend.
It was good.
Thoughts and prayers to you, John.
I appreciate it, Andrew. Prayers help, baby.
So when Doc Rivers got hired, everybody was really excited. You won a championship, and everybody was, okay, this is the coach that's going to get us over the hump. He didn't. So what makes us think as a fan base, as you guys as well, that this coach could be any different? He's won a championship. We haven't gotten over the hump. And what makes him different than Doc Rivers? I mean, obviously, you guys were probably excited, and I would love to hear what you guys said when Doc Rivers got hired. I don't know if you guys probably have that recorded, but what you guys said when Doc Rivers got hired, if it's the same kind of, statements that you guys are stating right now.
Well, Andrew, I don't think that they are similar. Appreciate it, buddy. I don't think that they're similar hires. I'm more optimistic with the Nick Nurse hire than I was Doc Rivers. Doc had a sort of a checkered past since the Boston days. But I enjoyed Doc Rivers being the coach, and I did not think it was a bad hire. I'm more confident that Nick Nurse is ready to win in today's NBA when I hear about his strategic moves in game being right behind Spoelstra, is how he was described last night on the pregame show on television. That other than Spoelstra, he's right there at playing chess, one of the best in the game. That inspires me because no one ever said that about Doc. And I'm not trying to rip on Doc because I really did enjoy Doc being here.
I like the Rivers hire when it happened. I was surprised when it happened. I didn't think he was coming here. It's weird. So you had how many years of Brett Brown when they were contenders? 3 years of Doc Rivers when they were contenders. As I said earlier, I'm just at the point like, unless a head coach can come in here and, as you said earlier, John, be kind of a psychiatrist and get this team mentally over this playoff hump that they just can't seem to get over. X's and O's, great. Everybody's going to have them. Everybody's going to have different philosophies. Where do you go with Joel Embiid and maybe a James Harden moving forward? All of those things. I'm kind of at like I
get you.
Until I see it. Okay.
Are you burned out?
No, I don't want to say burned. I'm never burned out. No, on
giving them the benefit of the doubt. Because I am absolutely burned out on giving the 76ers the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah, I like the hire. I do. I really like the hire for the reasons you mentioned and we'll mention in the column at the bottom of the hour. I just think it's going to take so much more, and maybe Nick Nurse is it, to get this team over that hump than just X's and O's. I really believe that.
There was one thing, though, that I didn't like, and I'll tell you, I took it up with Shaq and over the weekend. He believes that Joel Embiid should have been consulted for the hire of the new head coach. Do you believe that the Sixers consulted with Joel Embiid over who to hire? Because him and Nick Nurse seem to have had a little bit of an edge to them. Joel Embiid whining about Nick Nurse whining about calls, I find hilarious. Because Joel Embiid is one of the biggest whiners about calls in the NBA, hands down. So I sort of see it as a match made in heaven. The two of them are the two of them are campaigning, honestly, like relentlessly for calls. And then you throw Harden into the mix. It seems like the three amigos.
I was talking to somebody in the NBA this week, and I said something has to change. These players are complaining and I'm not defending referees because there's some, it goes both ways. But my God. Duncan Robinson the other night, last night, the other night. I wanted to punch him in the face through the TV. Stop complaining every time you go to the bath. Just stop. I suggested to somebody in the league office, I said, I would make a rule that every time I see palms go up in the air, I would blow the whistle and tell the guy get off the floor. Like, the guy has to be subbed out. You have to do, that's extreme, obviously. But you have to do something to stop all this whining. But anyway, getting back to the subject at hand here, yes, I like open conversation. I love for a GM, an owner, whatever, call Joel Embiid. Hey, we're gonna go this way. Not, are you okay with it? But this is where we're going. This is what Nick said about how best to use you, what he sees, offensive, defensive philosophies being moving forward. Wanted to let you know that's where we're leaning. Hope you're cool with it. Not are you cool with it? Hope you are.
Hope you're. See, I'd love that.
Yeah,
I don't want him to have a vote.
I'm all about open communication, but somebody's word is final, and that is for now Daryl Morey or Josh Harris, whoever it may be. No, I'm not asking Joel Embiid, but I am having open conversation, no question.
Did you want him to have a vote, Pat, or did you like it more? Would you like it more to have been like Bob just talked about?
I would have liked it to be what Bob laid out. I think he absolutely had a vote. And I don't think that...
How many votes are there, would you say?
Yeah, like who else would have had a vote, do you believe? Anybody?
I don't think there's a shadow of a doubt in my mind that James Harden probably got called.
See, the Harden got, like, what are you thinking about this?
Yeah.
Because they're trying to lure, if they want to lure him back.
To being coached by Nick Nurse. I don't know how many run-ins they actually had in Houston because he coached the Rio Grande Vipers, but I'm sure they ran into each other at some point. But yeah, I think he probably had a vote. I think the MVP. I mean, in a league that is run by the players, and the NBA is probably the greatest example of that. You got to keep your stars happy. And to Joel Embiid's credit, he didn't like Andre Drummond for years, and he welcomed him in, and now they're boys. So Joel Embiid kind of has a history of being an adversary with you and then welcoming you in once you're kind of on his side. So I think he absolutely had a vote.
Let's see what Brian in Souderton has to say. Brian, good morning. You're on The Fanatic. How are you?
Hey, good morning, guys. How are you?
Good, Brian.
I just had a couple of quick points about Nick Nurse. I like the hire. One, obviously, he can play chess on the floor. He's a tactician. But also the player development aspect. I know that we may be a little hamstrung in free agency. Obviously, there's not a lot of people out there. We don't have a lot of moves to make. But just looking at the players that he did kind of develop in Toronto with OG Ananobi's, getting things out of Fred VanVleet, even bench guys, Boucher. I think maybe he can unlock some pieces that we have, like maybe a Jaden Springer. He can unlock that. Like maybe even Furkan. Who even knows if Furkan's going to be here, but maybe he can unlock a Furkan and get him to be a...
Sorry, Brian. I am so done on Furkan Korkmaz, buddy.
He had me till
exactly.
Korkmaz.
Brian, great call. I'm sorry I poo-pooed it, but Furkan Korkmaz.
You literally poo-pooed it.
I did. I don't need to hear that name attached to the 76ers anymore for the rest of my life. I mean, seriously, maybe he can turn Furkan Korkmaz?
Unfortunately, with the way that this roster is constructed right now, when you're looking at guys with untapped talent potential, Furkan is there just because they have so many other guys. And I agree with you, by the way. But when you're going down the list of guys and you go, okay, who could he untap some potential from? It's not a long list because they haven't developed anybody. They don't really have a lot of draft picks that are currently on the roster that are young, other than Jaden Springer. B-Ball Paul is another name that I'm sure Brian would have brought up if we gave him more time, like Tyrese Maxey. That's it. So when you're looking at some guys, I don't blame him for saying that, but it's more of an indictment on this roster and how poorly they've scouted over the last 10 years.
So if Nurse comes in here and kind of is the guy that he's been, where starters get big minutes.
I mean, he is one of the starting five. He's one of the top 5 coaches year after year in minutes played by his 5 starters.
Yeah, you have to look into it a little bit. Who do you have coming off the bench? I mean, if I have to go to a Furkan Korkmaz coming off of my bench,
then you're saying
I'm going to play my starters a few more minutes as opposed to going to that. So that's one of the reasonings there. But yeah, if he has a tendency to play starters longer minutes, maybe your bench means less. But when you look at this Sixers bench right now, maybe you can count on a Springer, whatever. B-Ball Paul, it looks like he's the backup. Then you go to McDaniels and you go to Melton, and you might have some pieces there that he can grow better.
Hey, the Phillies are ready to play the Mets in a 3-game series. It better go a lot better than it did last year. We'll get to that next. Happy Tuesday morning to you. Welcome back, John Kincade.
Kincade Show on 97.5 The Fanatic, Philadelphia.
It's the John Kincade Show on 97.5 The Fanatic. You know, the baseball team's heading to New York. Well, they're already there. And you can bet the series on the BetParx Casino and Sportsbook app, the official sportsbook partner of the real Philly sports fan. You got to be 21 in Pennsylvania or Jersey. Gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER. The Phillies and the Mets. There are certain things that interest me just a little bit more in the course of a baseball.
I want to fight you.
And yeah, it's one of them. And I've got to say, a Phillies-Mets series always just completely piques my interest, and it gets a little more of the juices flowing. And I'm looking at it today and saying, last season, the National League East sent the 2nd, 4th, and 7th seeded teams to the playoffs. And the Phillies were able to boop, boop, boop back in thanks to the Brewers collapsing. It only took 87 wins. But right now, the rest of the way, the Phillies need to play 62 and 48 just to get to 87 wins. They got to play 14 games over 500. Currently, they're under 500, 3 games under. And in fact, the Phillies are 1 game better, Pat, than they were last year at this time. They're 1 game improved.
There you go, improvement. That's a key word there.
Last year, they were 24 and 29.
So
this year, they're 25 and 28.
World Series, here we come.
So this pushes them over the top, right? Being 1 game better than last year's crap fest.
Welcome to the party.
Yeah, Tom's got
Last year's crap fest?
Yeah, 24 and
Before
29.
they got rid of Joe Girardi.
Yeah.
I got you.
I don't believe a coaching change is coming.
No.
No.
So
That's
how disappointing is 25 and 28? And I know because of the Sixers, I think they've gotten off the hook. How crappy is this?
It's amazing because the Sixers' poor start, they got off the hook because of the Eagles and the Phillies.
Right, and the Sixers'
It all
poor
comes
start,
full
though, was
circle.
still
This is teams
6
helping
and-
teams.
Yeah. Sixers' poor start was, 6 and 8?
Yeah, look, it wasn't great. To answer your question, no, this sucks. It's not great. I haven't had fun.
It's embarrassing. I think it's embarrassing. I think their showing has been embarrassing. And the fact that Wheeler and Nola aren't as good as they were last year, even though Wheeler was spectacular on Saturday. Got out of church, we went and had a little dinner, and I was cheering on, watching the last innings, cheering on, watching Wheeler look like the Wheeler of old. But for Wheeler and Nola, they've let this franchise down. Nola has been a disaster. He's a disaster.
Yeah, can he turn it around like Wheeler did? Can he go out and have an 8-inning, 3-hitter, 1-run game?
He does well
The
against the
type
Mets
of-
a lot of times.
Yeah. Can Nola turn the corner? Perhaps. I thought what we saw from Wheeler was phenomenal this weekend.
Awesome.
That was so much fun to watch. And then winning a game like that, a tight, low-scoring game, and have your pitcher do that in Atlanta, awesome. If you can get that from Nola, get one of those from Nola against the Mets, or maybe a couple that, in the next week or
Just
so.
win 2 out of 3 against the Mets, I'll feel a lot better.
Yeah, because I think they're playing better baseball right now. I really do. And in spite of, 7 runs in the first inning. It was funny. We were out. We took the kids miniature golfing on what was it, Sunday night. And then we went out to eat, and we get to the place to eat, and then at the bottom of the first inning, it's 7-0.
And you're like, this is terrible.
Are you kidding me? But, they put themselves in that position going with Covey. I think if you get an outing from Nola, I'm feeling a lot better.
Yeah, I mean, if Nola starts to show me something, but the fact that they're only 1 game improved over last season's disaster, and by the way, we all thought it was completely unacceptable. The manager should be fired. This team's terrible. I don't hear anybody talking about it that way this year. It's the after effects.
Fired?
It's no. The vitriol of how bad the team was. This team's playing like crap.
Yeah, they're
25 and
definitely-
28.
This team right now is definitely having a honeymoon period regarding the World Series run, because the team they played like crap last year and they went to the World Series, and I think a lot of fans, maybe in the back of their mind, are going like, all right, it's not too late. We
Sure.
panicked last year. Look what happened. So let's ride it out. You expect some guys to get hot. You expect Kyle Schwarber to eventually hit over 220. You expect Trey Turner to kind of turn it around. And a lot of
Schwarber,
fans,
let's have him hit over 175.
Hey, all right, baby steps. I agree with you. Okay,
I mean, seriously.
Schwarber season coming up, but
okay.
but I think a lot of fans are expecting Aaron Nola and Zach Wheeler to eventually regain their form. I mean, the pitching though, that's the Achilles heel of this team right now. It's not the lineup. I mean, you look at up and down their rotation: 4.59, 3.60. 5.57, 5.13, and then 9.82. And the 9.82 is Ranger Suarez. He just returned. But that's gross. At least once a week, it seems like they're finding themselves in a 10-2 hole. I don't know how.
It does seem that way.
Pitchers can't get out of the first inning. You're lucky at this point to see a pitcher reach inning 6. It's bad. I posed the question last week, at what point does Caleb Cotham lose his job? Because his pitching rotation is atrocious right now. Billy Fulton gets sent down, deservedly so, but if it wasn't for Taijuan Walker's contract, he would have been sent down because he's worse. So I don't know what this team does, because they don't really have a lot of ammunition in the minors to bring up. They're kind of just stuck with what they got, and they kind of got to just ride it out at this point.
Are you trusting Kimbrel yet or not?
Yeah.
I'm feeling good with Kimbrel.
It seems like the runs that he gives up, it's either like not in a safe situation, or he'll give up a run, but they're up 2 and it's okay.
Yeah.
I feel like his ERA is pretty deceiving.
I think it is deceiving, and there have been a couple bad outings, but 15 goose eggs in performances through 2 months of the season. I think that's really damn good. That's really good. He's been a consistent guy you can count on.
His velocity has really gone up in the last few appearances also. He was hovering around that mid 90, lower 90 area, and now he's getting it up to 96, 97 pretty consistently. So I have confidence in him. I have confidence in their bullpen.
So do you have confidence this is turning around? That we're going to see June, July, and August, what we saw last year, like this team's going to turn it on? Because remember, you're going to have Bryce Harper for 2 of those months, hopefully, and you didn't have him last year.
Yeah.
He was out for 7 weeks or whatever it was.
I had a stat. I'm looking it up now. All right, since they entered the playoffs last year,
okay,
the Phillies are like 35-35.
That's incredible.
Don't do that.
No, but it
just a fact.
just brings
I'm not giving an
perspective.
opinion,
Leave your
Pat.
facts somewhere else, man. I don't need
Really?
that.
All right, I'll take this sheet out of my
Thank you.
book.
Take it out. All right, I'm going to say this.
To hear that.
I'm going to say this, and it won't be
Apologize.
popular. I'll give it till I look at the standings on Memorial Day, and I think it's freaking embarrassing that you're in 4th place, that you're behind the Miami Marlins. You're behind Miami. The amount of money you spent, the amount of star power you've got, and you're behind the Miami Marlins in the standings on Memorial Day. You've played 2 months of baseball. That's pathetic. That's bad. You are 6.5 out, though, and here's how I'm going to look at it positively. Last year, same date, you were 11.5 out of first place. Even though you're only 1 game improved, you're 5 games improved in the standings because nobody's run off with it. Last year, the Mets ran off with the division. Being 6.5 out, I'd say you have a chance to make, if you could make that 4 or 3.5 or 4 by 4th of July, you're feeling really good about things.
Sure.
You're saying this team can really come back. And I'm going to learn a lot about this team in what the next 3 games show me against the Mets, and then what the 7 games you have against the Braves and the Mets here in, the 6 games you have against them here in Philadelphia. I'll learn about them later this month. By 4th of July, I think we're going to know exactly who this team is.
I'll say this. Besides Wheeler and Nola, who we've talked about a lot, who's the biggest factor in this team turning it around?
Absolutely no questions asked to me. It is Ranger Suarez.
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
Because I believe you're going to have stable starting pitching. Taijuan Walker, I like Taijuan Walker.
I'm not just talking pitching, though.
No, but I'm
Okay.
looking at it as, like Pat said, routinely, this team is 1 game a week been buried by like the 3rd inning of a game by their starting pitching. I think I believe in Taijuan Walker to get things stabilized. I believe Nola has got to be better. I believe Wheeler is showing us that he's better. If you tell me that Ranger Suarez stabilizes and goes out, I think this team is going to be just fine.
Pat, who's yours after Wheeler and Nola? Is it a pitcher also or somebody else?
Yeah, it's a pitcher, Taijuan Walker.
So you go Walker.
Yeah, I mean, I think the pitching leads to everything. You could pick Trey Turner. I'm sure he'd be a popular name amongst people, but when you can't get out of the third inning, it taxes your bullpen. You got guys like Soto and Brogdon, who at this point I'm shocked their arms are still attached because they've pitched so much this season. Bellotti was pitched so much that he sucks now, and he's down in the minors trying to get it right. So, it's a ripple effect that has implications throughout the season. And to give a guy that much money and have a 5.57 ERA, Cody Clemens has a better ERA than Taijuan Walker.
Okay,
it's just a fact. It's true.
He's got the lineage.
Yeah, he does. And maybe he's your fifth starter at this point because they don't have one. But Ranger Suarez, I think he'll get right, but he was supposed to be your 3 or 4. Taijuan Walker was not expected to be this bad, but it's one of the two in my opinion. It's either Ranger Suarez or Taijuan Walker.
After that, I will go to Trey Turner after your guys pitching.
That's not unfair.
And I'll tell you what, there was an at-bat against Atlanta. I don't know if you guys remember this, and I can't remember whether it was Friday night or whatever. He had an high outside pitch that he just went with. And I thought it was a foul ball off the bat. And it turned out to be a double to right field. And the way he went with the pitch, it looked to me like he was just protecting the plate, but no, it's a really nice base hit going with where the ball was pitched. I saw a little bit of a turn in Trey Turner, and I think it may relate to pitching also. It's weird to say a hitter relating to pitching, but I think if he gets going and the lineup really gets going the way it can, I think it might help the pitching.
I want to hear about something Brian Windhorst said this in cut number 3, Pat, where he talks about what was the big factor in Nick Nurse being hired by the Philadelphia 76ers as their new head coach.
Joel Embiid was a big factor in it. This is one of the bigger coaching bidding wars we've seen in a few years. A couple years ago, the Suns won a bidding war for Monty Williams against the Lakers. The Suns were involved in another, battle to get Nick Nurse over the last several days. He was in position on both teams and went forward with the Sixers over the last 24 hours. Now, there's an history here. Nick Nurse and Joel Embiid have had words with each other at times. They've played against each other in 2 playoff series, so they know each other very well, and you get a coach with a championship resume into Philadelphia, and he also has a long-standing relationship with Daryl Morey. They both worked for the Houston Rockets together, leading to this situation. It was one of the highest coveted jobs on the market, and Nick Nurse, one of the highest coveted coaches, and they came together.
All right. One of the most coveted coaches. How do the Sixers move forward with Nick Nurse? And more importantly, I was willing to spend $295 for this if I had to. But we give you Cooney's column for free.
Let's turn the page and find out what's in Cooney's column.
While reasoning for who you may have wanted to be the next head coach of the 76ers could have differed in many ways, it is probably safe to say that Nick Nurse, reported to be named to that position later this week, was on your short list. Of course, he's best remembered in this city for the triple doinker by Kawhi Leonard when he coached the Toronto Raptors, which ultimately became, in 2019, the Raptors hoisting the Larry O'Brien Trophy. Now, 5 years later, he is the coach of the 76ers, the team that has underachieved since its loss to the Raptors in 2019. The team that just doesn't seem to have the it factor right now when it comes to getting over that playoff hump that has been laid out there before them. The team that fails to find a go-to player when it needs it most, despite seemingly acquiring a plethora of them through the years to surround this year's MVP in Joel Embiid. Now it's his team. And where does it go from here? Nurse has been really good at having his stars shine. Leonard averaged 27 points a game in his only season with Nurse, but maybe his biggest asset on the coaching front is his use and growth of younger players. In Pascal Siakam, OG Anunoby, Gary Trent Jr., Fred VanVleet, Scotty Barnes. Think of all those names. Nurse has shown an ability to develop those youngsters, something that has been a little lacking with this organization currently. He is a chess player when it comes to the games, constantly tweaking and adjusting during a quarter, a game, a season. Many times those changes come on the defensive end of the floor, with Nurse showing a tendency to favor different types of zone defenses. In this team, heavily sprinkled with veterans who have a lot of wear on 30-year-old plus legs, that can embrace can they embrace different defensive schemes? Are the starters ready for heavy minutes, as Nurse is accustomed to asking of them? We can talk scheme all we want, but this should be a 50-win team no matter who the head coach is. That's just plain and simple. Nurse's biggest task is teaching a winning culture, one that is currently owned by conference foes like the Miami Heat and the Boston Celtics. Until that happens, the X's and O's don't really matter. Winning culture is all that matters for this Sixers organization right now.
Did they have a culture problem under Doc Rivers?
I
don't mean to say you're accusing them of that, but it sounds like they needed a culture change. So was there a culture problem?
So culture is something that you bring with you that leads to winning, or you win and it leads to culture. I think the Sixers are in that flux right now where the culture, while regular season winning has been very, very good, I don't think they have that culture of, it's pretty obvious, of winning in the playoffs.
No, they don't.
It could take one simple, had they won Game 6, and I said this after it happened, John, had they won Game 6, that may have led to them being in conference finals for the majority of years to come, simply because they got over that hump.
The hurdle.
Yeah, it's a culture thing. I like that they win 50-plus games every regular season. That's great. I just think there's a mental hurdle that right now they can't get over when it comes to playoffs, and maybe Nick Nurse is the answer for that.
Pat, when you hear what Bob's saying there about all the defensive things that he knows how to do and everything, I still go back to the fact that I just wonder whether he's got the team to do it, whether he has the roster to be able to do it.
I don't think so.
I don't think.
Yeah, I don't think so. I don't think so. Yeah, I think he's going to come in and they're going to be okay.
But
that's the thing. They're going to
win 52 games.
Yeah, it's going to be the same story every year.
So here's how I go with winning culture.
Okay.
Look at Miami. Last night again, I think I heard them say that undrafted players had 57 of their points. And you're watching a Vincent, and you're watching a Strus, and Duncan Robinson. You're watching these guys play pivotal parts in a huge game. Then you look over to the Celtics. While they lost last night, you're looking at a Derek White who won you Game 6 with an unbelievable follow-up. You're looking at different players contributing that you're like, wow, these guys, they weren't superstars coming in, right? Do the Sixers get that enough? And until they do, will it make that culture be where those two teams that I just described are? That's a winning culture to me. When you can bring in guys that aren't expected to do much and they do it consistently, like Boston gets out of secondary players, like Miami gets out of secondary players. That's just a hump that maybe Nick Nurse can take these guys over.
Well, one of the things you say there is you used a word that I have a real problem with the Sixers. Consistency. There is none. There's none with this franchise.
I just get the feeling watching the Celtics. Now, you weren't here, John. Celtics took that fourth game, and it went 3-1, right? Connor came in here, and we were just talking. I go, Boston's going to make this a sweat. He goes, no, I don't think so. That obvious answer was no.
I thought they'd win Game 5 and then lose Game 6.
It's just that culture that they have. It's that feeling that you get from watching the NBA that you just know they're going to do something. But the obvious answer was last night, Celtics going to win this game. And Anthony Goodenough on our group chat said, nah, I like Miami. My first thought after the Celtics won Game 6, to my son Kyle, I texted, wouldn't it just be fitting if Miami goes and wins Game 7? But then the more I thought about it, I went with the Celtics. But you could go either way because you know that they have that winning culture about them, that they could win a Game 7 on the road, that Boston can win a Game 6 on the road. I just don't have that feeling with the Sixers organization right now.
There's no reason to have that theory.
No, and it could be as easy as just winning that Game 6. It could be just as easy as hiring this coach that can get you past the second round because the talent's there. It's just that culture thing that I think is lacking.
You realize now every single college graduate plus a year hasn't seen them win a second round series. It's that crazy. We're 23. It'll be 23 years next year. Like as they try to do it again. And I worry about that being back there right where we're back.
It's just gotta
Little nudge.
You just got to get over that.
Welcome, Nick Nurse.
Yeah.
Welcome, Nick. You got a lot on your plate, but
I'm excited to see this guy.
I think he's the best. I think he was the best coach available. To me, he was the best coach available. I did not want, and it's a gentleman saying to me here, John, why did you not want Mike Budenholzer? I got, and again, I'm not talking it personal. I got to watch Mike Budenholzer as a head coach, got to deal with Coach Budenholzer as a head coach. I didn't want to do it here. It was as exciting as a glass of milk. And to me, I found him to be very much condescending. I invented the game type of coach. From what I hear about Nick Nurse, he's very interactive. He'll get into discussions with you. He'll spar with media, but not in a negative way. He's very. I admire that more.
Yeah,
I like that
I had
more.
different interactions with Budenholzer. He was always very good to me.
And he's a good man, by the way. He's a good man.
A couple times I had some questions concerning Brett Brown, not badly, and called me. No hesitation, all that. I always had good dealings with him. I think Nick Nurse is a really good hire. You had a chance to make 3-4 really good hires. I don't think Budenholzer, you and I differ on that. I wouldn't have minded him here. In Monty Williams. I think Frank Vogel would have been a good hire. If you wanted to, I think you could have gone to a Chris Quinn, an assistant with the Miami Heat that I pined for when they hired Doc Rivers back in the day.
So you've been on him that long.
Yeah, Pat, I think you were on the morning show with us. Jamie will tell you. I brought up Chris Quinn's name, back then when they hired Rivers. Probably too long. I shouldn't have done it back then, but if they weren't in a win...
laughed at you and called you an idiot back then.
Which they were right. If they weren't in win mode now, I think Chris Quinn would have gotten a bigger look.
What about the move from Monty Williams? If you believe the reports last week, Detroit offered him $51 million. Offered him a fortune to come and coach them.
That's good money.
And he turned it down, saying, he can do better.
It's a scorching. Let me hit the button because it is a scorching hot take.
Warning, this is a hot take alert.
What is it?
Probably a lot of it is I'm just broken by the result of this past season. I think Detroit's roster, if I was a coach, I think is more enticing than this one. Because
I like Detroit's upside.
They have the upside. They have younger talent. They have a high draft pick again.
Yes.
If looking at it, yes, the Sixers have Joel Embiid, the crown jewel, the MVP, all that, but they're just their roster is in such unbelievable flux that if I was a coach, I would kind of be scared off by that. If this were a year ago, I would have been like, oh yeah, Philadelphia, absolutely. They're solidified. They have their roster, but right now, I think Detroit's upside and the talent level there.
What are they? The 4th or 5th pick in the draft?
I think they're the 5th.
Okay, 5th.
Which they dropped.
They dropped in the lottery. San Antonio, the big
winners.
The big winners.
Uh-huh.
Like Cade Cunningham's a stud in this league.
Yeah, I'll tell you, I like Detroit's upside. As far as just to be a team that's next year could push for maybe getting into the play-in tournament type of thing.
Yeah, I don't think they'd be the number 1 seed, obviously, but
no.
I think they could surprise people like the Kings surprised people this past year. I think the Sixers will be much better than the Detroit Pistons. They won 15 games or something.
Sixers won 54 this year?
Yeah. So
are they winning 54 next year?
Oh,
they could
I don't think
between 50 and 54. They could,
but it doesn't matter necessarily as the Heat shows you.
I'm like a year behind you guys. I am. I'll admit it. You guys before last season started with the Sixers. We're looking second round. Got to win that or bust.
Got to win that.
And we're kind of overlooking the regular season. I was more of, you can't go there yet. You got to go day by day. I'm kind of getting to the point of, you guys are right. Until things change.
You got to get there.
You guys were right.
I was with you. I wanted the regular season. I was enjoying the regular season.
All right, John was right.
How about this? I don't want to hear that. I do not want to hear a show on 97.5 The Fanatic again. Any show with the theme of, can't we just enjoy the regular season?
Yeah,
Isn't the regular season great? Enough of that crap. Enough of it.
2 months ago, that was me.
Yes.
And now I'm done with it.
Yes, and I know you're done with it.
a wake me when they get out of the second round fan. And
Enough of
and
that.
They've done that to me.
Can't we just enjoy the regular season? Bull crap.
I don't think Nick Nurse realizes what he's getting into.
I think he's
walking into this fan base right now, I don't think he realizes the apoplectic nature that is.
I can't wait to. God bless you. That's nothing to sneeze at, Coach.
I know. My God. I'll say this: if I was Nick Nurse and I was offered Detroit or the Sixers, you're 55 years old. You've been in the league. Do you want to go to a place where you're building? Do you really need job security, which Detroit probably would offer you more of? I don't think so. I think I'm coming here with like a kind of championship now type of thing.
Well, I mean, look, and there's an elephant in the room here. It's Detroit. It's
that's no elephant.
Detroit. So,
that's a good point.
I'm picking Philly over Detroit, but in terms of roster construction, it's a more solidified roster, and you're probably going to have more time. Next year, the Sixers are going to be better than the Detroit Pistons, no doubt. But I think in the long run, if I was a coach, I'd take a hard look at the Detroit Pistons job.
Have you ever watched? Are you an HGTV ever, Pat?
Oh, absolutely not. No,
absolutely not.
No.
Nick Nurse could have bought a city block in Detroit. There's this one show where these two guys buy these houses.
The Property Brothers?
And no. They're like they're the Detroit version of the Property Brothers.
Okay.
They buy houses for 10 grand, 15 grand, 20 grand, and then sell them for like 120.
What do they do with the block?
They
fix it up.
Nick Nurse could. They have literally bought like 10 houses on the block, all for less than 20 grand.
I mean, do they fix up the houses? Or
they fix up they fix up the houses and then they sell them for like 120, 130, and they make them look great. They're little shoeboxes, but they make them look. Nick Nurse could have bought 2 blocks and put a wall up around it, which, by the way, in Detroit is probably valuable.
Yes, probably
a big cement wall.
We'll put a moat.
Pat has a question though about the Nurse hire, and it brings us back to that old theory. Are you ready to ride that horse again? We'll get to it next. John.
/RG.
WPEN Burlington, Philadelphia, a Beasley Media Group station. Official home of the Sixers, Flyers, Union, and the best Eagles talk in Philadelphia. 97.5 The Fanatic. Now, back to the John Kincade Show on 97.5 The Fanatic, Philadelphia.
John Kincade Show.
Okay, we can stop right there.
Yeah, right?
John Kincade Show on
the music.
97.5 The Fanatic. all the family has headed to Jamaica on my wife's side of the family for my niece Christelle's wedding, which we will not be attending.
Congratulations.
So they're there. Christelle is finally... Christelle?
I never heard the name Christelle before.
Christelle is...
I like that name.
And she's got casinos on the island.
She does, huh?
Christelle's gaming rooms.
There's envelopes all around her.
Yes, she does. She is a wedding, so the family is there. Christina put on a bunch of her Jamaican playlist the other day out on the back porch.
She has a Jamaican playlist.
Yeah, like her.
It all sounds the same, though, doesn't it?
It does.
Like you said that before.
I think there's 5 songs. Because it was like, we're jamming, you know, and then
I remember that one.
I shot the sheriff, but I did not shoot the deputy.
That's a Jamaican song?
Yeah.
Is it really? I honest to God.
Yes. I shot the sheriff? Yes.
Who sings it, Pat? No,
I just
actually.
want this conversation to stop.
I believe it's Bob Marley.
Is
and the
I believe
Wailers.
he's right, yeah.
It's Bob Marley and the Wailers.
Okay.
But it's a...
Hartford.
By the way, the Wailers, I found out over the weekend, Pat, they thought they could do without Bob Marley. They thought Bob Marley needed them. I was hearing a little bit about the story.
Well, Ron Francis was clearly wrong.
They thought they needed... The Wailers thought that Bob Marley needed them. And it didn't work out
There's
that
always
way.
that dynamic in a group. Like,
It
when
didn't
you've
work
got
out that
a
way.
Clear. There's probably at a time the Supremes thought, we don't need Donna Summers.
Diana Ross?
Her too. We just don't need her. I mean,
this day in music history brought to you by Pat Egan.
Yeah.
Our sister station
Yes.
had a top 500 rock classic songs
On
over
Memorial Day
Memorial
weekend. They
I
do a
love
great
it.
job with that.
Yeah, they do. So I'm on the line. I was on the line. I was on the phone with a guy in the NBA, and we're going back and forth about stuff. And in the background, I have on our sister station.
Okay.
And he hears it, and he says, what are they, counting down top classic rock? I said, yeah. He says, what number are they on? I said, 4. He goes, number 1's got to be Freebird. I said, you think I was never a fan of Freebird?
Not for me.
No, because you know what it was, Pat? When we were younger, when John and I were younger, if they played Freebird at a dance,
oh jeez,
you would start. It starts slow, so you start slow with the girl,
And it picks up.
and then it picks up. And unlike you, I'm not that good on the dance floor when the music gets faster.
Correct.
So it was like that awkward. Oh, what do I do now? But
like
the number.
Shout.
Did you know what exactly? Do you know what the number 1 song was?
It's got to be a Bruce Springsteen song.
I do not know.
No, Springsteen was in. I think
Springsteen was in top. He had a top 10, did he?
I think he had 9 in the top 500. I think Born to Run was like 18 or something like
Okay.
that. But it was Stairway to Heaven.
I heard it.
Not me either.
I know.
Not
I
me
wish it
either.
would
Neither
change.
one of those songs.
Like Frampton was 3. You had Freebird was 2.
Okay, if you're over 50, I think that list would have been approved.
Yeah.
I just
I would rather the
not for
under
me,
50
though.
crowd come in and give
Yeah.
it. But it's great
Still,
listening.
it's a great
job
and
by
by the
them.
way, it creates great discussion,
Yeah.
which is part of it.
Yeah.
Is the debate and the discussion's part of it. Help Firebird's wood-fired grill find a cure for childhood cancer. Join them during Lemonade Days, June 9th through the 11th, and all June long to donate to Alex's Lemonade Stand Foundation. So I'm trying to jam in, no pun intended, all good eating that I can before chemo begins. Because
When
I
you say
know
good eating, are you talking like healthy eating, or are you talking like stuff that tastes good, all GMOs?
Well, the one thing is my I have been put on a strict after colon cancer surgery. There's certain things you can't eat. Like I haven't had a salad in 2 weeks, and I've got the shakes from it. I usually have a salad minimum once a day, and I love a salad for lunch. going to a salad place and getting a bunch of stuff in it, getting protein in it, love it. I'm missing roughage big time. And it's sort of bland food. And I haven't done dairy hardly any.
Can you do roughage before the surgery?
Yes.
Oh,
yes.
okay.
I'll be able to do it. But I have to like ease it in.
Okay.
And sugars I've been staying away from. Like no,
Look
like
at
hardly
you.
any
You look
sugar.
like you're
at all.
down a couple pounds.
16.
Is that right?
Since the last day you saw me. But
Wow.
I was bleeding internally. We didn't know that I was bleeding internally. I kept saying to you too, I feel like crap. I kept telling Bob, I feel like crap. Like I didn't realize what was going on.
Yeah.
And Christina said to me over and over, "You think you could have cancer?" And
Oh
I
my
said,
God.
and I said no.
She went right to
no,
the
because she did. And I kept saying to her, "No, I don't think I could." But I'm trying to fit in every good meal that I can before it all happens.
I had a delicious salad for dinner Sunday night when we went out with the family. It was
What
a
did you
seafood
put in it?
salad.
Seafood, what's in it?
So it had huge amounts of lump crab meat,
Okay,
which
that's
was
fine
it
with
wasn't
me.
imitation. It was
Love it.
delicious.
Okay.
Shrimp.
Any scallops?
No, it's just shrimp and crab
Shrimp,
meat.
crab meat.
And I had a vinaigrette dressing. I raved about this salad all through the time I was
or fruity vinaigrette?
balsamic.
Okay, because I do not like the fruity vinaigrettes.
No, I don't.
I like
think
a
so.
balsamic vinaigrette.
I wasn't sure what to get, so I said to the waitress. She said, "What kind of dressing do you want?" I'm like, "I don't know. What do people usually get with it?" Because I never really have seafood salad, but it was delightful.
Coach, seafood salad, you're a bit of a chef. You've written cookbooks.
Yeah.
Seafood salad.
Love it.
Scallops got to be in it for me, though. If I'm going to
I
have
love
that.
scallops, but yeah, I mean, the place where we were, I was surprised they even had this good of a seafood salad.
Do you cook your? Have you put scallops in a salad before, Coach?
Yeah.
Do you
that.
cook them? Do you cook them first?
Grill them.
You grill them and then put them in the salad.
And if you're going to be grilling scallops, then you might as well grill some shrimp too and stick that in there.
Sounds good to me.
Yeah, scallops are
That sounds
delightful.
really good to me.
Now we're talking
Yeah.
about that. I did grilled mahi-mahi and grilled swordfish.
Oh, I love it. I love swordfish.
And it was phenomenal.
Okay, do you wrap your swordfish in tinfoil when you cook it?
I did not. I have a
Plank?
one of those
Latex, right?
Yeah, no, thank you, Pat. I have one of those grill
Gotta wrap it in something.
sheets. that
one of
go
those
down.
sheets, okay.
Yeah, and the fish goes on top of that. And all I did was mix a butter sauce with Old Bay.
Okay, sounds awesome.
Mixed it together and just lathered it up, and it was delicious.
And you take your fork and you just break
it's just
off
flakes.
You just break off little chunks of swordfish. I love swordfish. I had at Chop House, our friends with PJ's group. I was out at the Chop House Grill the other night, and so having to eat, I love halibut. Halibut's my favorite fish.
Halibut
had
needs to be
grilled-
seasoned very well.
The chef made me a fantastic, because I said, look, I can't have breaded. I got to have just fresh fish. He made me halibut that was eye-popping. It was delicious.
Sweet.
Not overly seasoned, which was great. Not overly seasoned, but just enough. It was awesome.
So I'm gonna have to bring you guys in. So my brother-in-law this weekend, he bought himself a little boat, and he has it docked on an arm of the Chesapeake.
Okay.
So he went out on Saturday by himself and caught 17 crabs and steamed them that day and had them. My sister said
So is
they
that
were
like
just phenomenal.
Are you talking about like lay out the newspaper on the picnic table and
yeah.
eat them that way?
Oh, yeah.
A lot of work. Like I'm a lazy
you would-
eater. Like I'm
see,
a
I'm
lazy
not.
eater with that.
When it comes to crab,
You're having a beer and you're
when it
having
comes
this.
to crabs, if you gave me a crab and said, all right, pick the meat out, and I gave it to you 10 minutes later, you would not find a shred
Pick
of
clean,
meat.
eh?
I pick them meticulously.
Pat, you a lazy eater like me? That's too much work for me.
Yeah, I'm pretty lazy. In terms of that, I'm not trying to work for my food.
The lump crab meat, to me, Bob, ultimate. I love chilled, but I
good.
like it chilled, not grilled. Chilled lump crab meat.
Yeah, I don't grill
me it that way. I
I'll
like it
have in
chilled.
butter. I don't mind putting it in a pan with some butter. But I'll
Okay.
tell you what, I can't put enough Old Bay seasoning on any fish
You
or
like it,
anything.
eh?
I love Old Bay seasoning.
Hey, in Pat's point of view, I want to talk about this, and I'm glad Pat's bringing it up because it is something that we need to get into in the second half of the show after Nick Nurse has been hired.
This is Pat's point of view. Here's Pat.
Hi, Pat.
Hi, guys.
Good to see you again.
So Nick Nurse gets hired as Sixers head coach. News comes out. Woj bomb, if you will. My first thought was, yeah, it doesn't really matter. Window's shut. Am I being too reactionary to it? Probably. But I have a feeling that a lot of fans are probably like that. It doesn't really matter who the coach is. Window's shut. You could have Phil Jackson come in here. Wouldn't matter. You could have pretty much any coach come in here. John Wooden, if you want to, get him back.
You want to really go?
Yeah, if you want to really go outside the box, go clone John Wooden and get him back. I don't feel like it's really in the long run going to make a difference in terms of winning a championship.
Harden's my hang-up. Harden's the hang-up to me. I don't know why. Like, people will convince themselves that, no, Harden can still be a big game player and come through in the clutch. No, he can't. He never has. Why would you think he's going to do it now? In his mid-30s, why do you think it's the light bulb's finally going to go off?
I hear you on that. So if he's not as prominent a piece on a team where he has to perform at such a level, could that be a better James Harden for you in the playoffs? Now, what I'm saying is this a year maybe Nick Nurse comes in and says, I don't need you to be the number one scorer, number two scorer, number three scorer. I need you to distribute. I need you to be 16 and 11 every night. I need this offense to move in a way that the ball moves and you're the key facilitator. I don't know, maybe, but the points that you bring up are valid, John.
No, but I don't think you're wrong at all, though. I mean, if you're asking him to do a little less, then that
yeah, and I think Harden can do it because I think he does have that basketball IQ. I think he does have that old man game where you don't have to rely so much on speed and quickness, and maybe you can still be very effective on the floor. The greatest thing I like about Nick Nurse, in the year that they won the NBA championship in Toronto in 19, the defensive rating and the offensive rating were both top 5 in the league.
Okay, that's pretty impressive.
That's great.
How many,
awesome.
Okay, I'm sorry I don't know this. How many games they win that year, like in the regular season? Did it even matter?
I just looked it up before.
Was it like 58,
no, it wasn't in the
57?
60s. Yeah, something like
somewhere
that. Around there.
Okay.
56 maybe.
So it was something like that.
Yeah. Pat, though, you make a great point because, as I said earlier in the show, part of me is, does it matter? What it told me is they're still in win now mode. Not bringing in somebody that doesn't have experience says that, and because Joel Embiid is where he is in his career, says that.
A lot of times teams are in win now mode, and they're the last people to realize that they have no shot.
Good
the
point.
2012 Phillies are a prime example of that, of Ruben Amaro trying to keep that window open, even though it was completely shut.
By the way, I understood the grasping at straws. I didn't want to believe it either about that team, Pat. You were more of a realist. You were a young realist at that time.
Yeah, I just didn't see it. Getting Jonathan Papelbon, giving up your first-round pick was dumb. I'll go to my grave with that one, but
Right.
I just don't know if it really is going to make that much of a difference of Nick Nurse coming in here. And maybe I'm just way too reactionary to what happened and way too down on this franchise, but my first thought was like, yeah, okay, who cares? It's not going to make a difference. Whereas when Doc got hired, I was pumped.
So you were?
Yeah, I was excited.
Because that's what we were being asked earlier. By the way, you want to jump in with us, you can, 610-632-0975 on this. You were like that when Doc was hired. I was optimistic when Doc was hired.
I was also.
I was optimistic.
I liked the hire back then. Yeah, I had no problems with it. I like this hire. As I said, you may have had 3-4 guys to choose from that I would have said the same exact thing. I like this hire.
I like the hire. I just don't know if it's going to result in the ultimate goal. So
I don't think that's unfair either.
So if it doesn't result in the ultimate goal, does it matter?
Yeah.
Or are we just spinning our wheels and we're basically exactly where the launch off of the process was trying to avoid, which is being a mediocre basketball team that has no shot of winning a championship. And I feel like that's what the Sixers are right now. They are a slightly above mediocre basketball team that has no shot of winning a championship. And they can hire whoever. It's not going to make a difference. Now, a large part of that is we have no idea what this roster is. I mean, right now, no one's running point. So it could change. I mean, my mood could probably change. I could soften on it, but I just don't feel like it's the difference.
Is it a personnel move that could change your opinion?
Oh, I mean, I guess it'd have to be a trade at this point.
Okay.
Of something. I mean, like, we keep hearing about the creativity that Daryl Morey's going to have in order to make this roster work if James Harden leaves. If he gets super, super, super creative and brings in something that could move the needle, yeah, sure.
Okay.
But that's going to be difficult with no assets.
I don't think you.
Yeah.
Pat, I don't think you're being a negative Nelly either. Like, I just don't.
Well, they did this to me.
No, they did. They did this.
He is broken. He's still broken.
But this is their. This is their. But this is their doing.
Yeah, and I don't think that they realize it. Not like me personally, but I don't think that they realize that I feel like a pretty large portion of the fan base is me.
Well,
it's just like wash my hands, wake me up when you get out of the second round. I'm done believing. I'm done being Charlie Brown.
Right.
You can hire whoever. You can sign whoever. You can make whatever draft day trade. Cool. I'm taking a year off, basically.
I love the unbridled enthusiasm that is Cuz Radio, and that is Andrew Salchunas too. Love it. Because I think it plays well to help people balance out what can sometimes seem negative. If you are down on the Sixers and you're doubting the Sixers, you are not being Negadelphian. You're being a realist. You're being an educated fan. You are not being Negadelphia. Don't let anybody label you. Don't let anybody paint you as, oh, you're just a downer. No, you're a freaking realist. You understand this. You've been kicked in the nuts over and over again. And you understand it. And you're not going to be fooled again easily by this team. They have to change that. Do I believe Nick Nurse can do that? I do. I think he's got potential. I think he potentially could be a game changer. But as I say, potentially could be a game changer.
Yeah, a lot has to do with the roster. We're just kind of in that treading water type of scenario right now where, okay, do you go to shore or do you go deeper into the water? I don't know what they're going to do. Or do you stay status quo, which could be just treading water until you get to that second round next year.
Could be.
And then see what happens. It's a weird dynamic that they're in right now. The team's not getting rid of Joel Embiid. So for all the callers we had when you were out, John, that were like, "Well, trade Embiid. He's not a winner." Nobody said he was a loser, but people said he wasn't a winner.
Okay.
They're not trading Embiid. Okay?
No, they're not trading Joel Embiid. So that's just you just got to stop with that.
Daryl Morey's come out and said he wants to have James Harden back. I do believe the team does not want to go 4 years. I do believe the team does not want to pay the type of money that we've seen.
So what happens?
So there's some negotiation going on there. I think it's kind of fascinating that, while the Houston Rockets name has been thrown out there, I haven't heard of any offer coming from them, nor any other team.
No, I don't hear
that's
any.
approaching the numbers that I would say maybe James Harden's team has thrown out there.
You think James Harden's getting that kind of... I think James Harden is the big... I got to really watch my words. I think James Harden and his camp are the biggest load of crap. PR thing. Christmas Day. Oh, Houston. Remember that? That all came from Harden. Yeah. And all this BS now about the great interest from Houston and everything, it's coming from Harden's camp.
Well,
it's coming from his own PR team. He's trying to perpetuate a story about who he is and what he's worth. And by the way,
it's a business move.
By the way, he's not.
Yeah, so remember...
He shows it over and over.
That story came out by Woj on Christmas Day, right? And then a few weeks later, we talked about it, and we all said, isn't it kind of strange there's been no follow-up?
You said that to me.
I don't like to take credit.
No, you said it to me and said, John, who's backing up that story?
It was thrown out there one day.
And you were right.
Woj ran with it, probably as a favor. And then silence.
And you said to me, who of the you respect is backing up that story? And the answer was nobody.
Yeah, it was given to Woj. He ran with it. Okay. And it's been silent ever since. Now, some people in Houston brought it back up. Well, let's not forget the Woj story. Well, everybody else did.
Everybody else has forgotten it.
And so, is there a place for Harden here this year? It looks like it's going to happen. It looks like he's going to be here. I'm anxious to see how Nick Nurse uses him. Something wasn't right this year, obviously. The ups and downs of James Harden in the playoffs. Joel Embiid there mostly, but not always, which happens to great players, as we just saw in this last series. There has to be some kind of a change, schematically, mentally, whatever it may be. Maybe Nick Nurse is the right guy to do it here and now.
Pat, I love that you, though, articulated it, because I think that the one thing I literally will scoff at from this point forward, anybody who does the old, you're being a Negadelphian. No, you're not. If you don't believe in the Sixers going forward, you're being a realist and you're basing it on facts and data. You are. Now, do we want things to change? We do. Mm-hmm. We want it to be better.
Mm-hmm.
We all do.
I don't like feeling like this.
No, I don't like it either.
I don't like you feeling like that.
I haven't had fun the last 3 weeks.
I don't blame you.
It's been enjoyable.
Yeah, it hasn't been fun. It's been a kick. It's been a kick in the beanbag, as they say.
I feel like Neo in the Matrix, realizing the truth, although the truth sucks. Neo was excited. He was like, "This is cool." He said, "Whoa."
Whoa.
But I'm not saying that. I'm saying this sucks.
You say Woj?
No,
maybe?
whoa.
Whoa? Woj.
Like, whoa.
Yeah, whoa.
I know Kung Fu.
Bad actor. I still can't.
He's in
get
some
that.
good stuff, though.
Yes, he is. He is. He's just not a good actor.
He tries.
Are we talking about Boban?
No, we're talking about...
No, Boban's actually has the same acting ability as Keanu Reeves.
Oh, I put Keanu over Boban.
A little above.
I don't know. He's pretty good in those.
You've never
goldfish
seen
commercials.
A second of Boban and John Wick.
I saw him in the goldfish commercials, and he's extraordinary.
He is funny in them. Hey,
he is good in them.
Train for a career in broadcast media, web development, social media marketing, and filmmaking at CSB Media Arts Center in Cherry Hill. Go CSB.com. That's GoCSB.com. There's the Holy Trinity, and it's the Holy Trinity of mediocrity. But what's about to change? We'll get to it next. John Kincade Show here on
97.5 The Fanatic, Philadelphia.
John Kincade Show on The Fanatic. Why don't you head down to Clearwater Beach for a perfect long September weekend as the Birds play the Bucks on Monday Night Football. Reserve your spot now with a small deposit. Go to PhillySportsTrips.com. Philly Sports Trips. Travel with the pros. Appreciate that very, very much. You got to love Philly Sports Trips just does the absolutely most amazing job.
They are phenomenal.
And did you see what happened this weekend with Aunt Jules from Philly Sports Trips?
No.
Aunt Jules got engaged on the beach.
What?
Aunt Jules is engaged.
Let's go.
Aunt Jules is now engaged.
Jimbo Slice?
Yes.
That's great.
Jimbo did the great job. Now, you golfed with them.
The most fun I've had on a golf course is with those two, and then obviously Vince.
Vince is
it's by far the most fun I've ever had.
Vince can drag down when you're hanging out with Jules and Jimbo.
Yeah.
They got engaged on the beach this weekend.
In Jersey or somewhere else?
In Jersey.
Wow.
Congratulations.
That is awesome.
We love Aunt Jules.
Oh, she is so much fun.
She is such a joy. And if you travel on one of these trips, she sort of is like a party coordinator.
She's like a den mom kind of. Kind of keeps everybody.
But she finds her way right to the middle of the party, too.
Yeah, absolutely she does.
Yeah, she's not like a disciplinarian, but she just kind of keeps...
She keeps the fun going.
Order going, yeah.
She's not a narc.
No.
Who's having good times.
It's like, hey, we got a schedule to keep. Let's go over here. Let's go. But she's a blast.
It's rare that you find her without a smile on her face.
She's so awesome.
Right?
Yes.
I just love that. No matter what, you could turn a corner and she'll be standing there and she'll have a smile on her face.
But then again, that's
Isn't that great?
That's most people that travel with Philly Sports Trips.
And with you.
Congratulations.
Especially.
You said it. We're all thinking it, though.
That's
Julie. Right. Aunt Jules is going to be married. That's good.
Good for her.
And Jimbo's a good dude.
I'll take the fish at the wedding. I can't wait for it.
He's a good dude.
It'll be a blast.
So there you go. By the way, want to remind you, we're having our first Friday broadcast this Friday. I would love to see you. We'd love to have you come out. It's all driven by David Auto. Pat, you put the link up, right? Go to our website at 97.5thefanatic.com.
I did.
If you want to bring you and a guest.
I tweeted it
this
out
weekend.
From the show account, so you can go there.
Come on out and have a chance to see it. You have anybody going to come by? I think my neighbors are going to come by. I think that Mark and Shane are going to come by.
Hey, what do you say, Mark and Shane?
So they'll be back. Shane back.
I've heard a rumor that along with your neighbors,
yes,
Danny Briere will be there.
Oh, I heard of him.
I've also heard a rumor that maybe Tom McGinnis will make an appearance.
Get excited.
I know him too.
That sounds great. Sounds like it'll be a good time. Which should be great. Maybe Nick Nurse rolls in.
He may.
Maybe he does his press conference. And
I'm going to tell you that's not happening.
You're sure
You never know.
That's not happening? I think Nick Nurse wants to meet the people.
I think he does. I don't need people.
You just know if it's this people.
Nick Nurse is gonna be
well,
there.
I'm not saying that it's happening. It's like, could it be?
The Sixers are going backwards. They got a Doc and now they got a Nurse.
Wow. I've heard that. I've heard this like 20 times already.
Okay,
I said that the Doc and the Nurse.
Yeah, it kind of got stale quickly yesterday. Not going against
it was just used a lot.
I didn't see it.
Yeah.
I've been off Twitter.
Pat Gallen, our friend, had one
They do it
yesterday. He
too.
said they went from a Doc to a Nurse because the fans have no patience.
Oh, geez.
Written like patience.
So Gallen really went for the trifecta of.
Yeah.
Well, we have the
I like Pat.
We have the Holy Trinity. He's a good dude. Holy Trinity of mediocrity. Trey Turner, Kyle Schwarber, and Aaron Nola.
Oh, I thought you meant me, you, and Pat.
That is the truth.
Yeah, I think the lot.
That's a coach. That's a coach said.
Thought that
I think mediocre would be an upgrade.
The Holy Trinity of what's dragged this team into mediocrity. So I said it. I'm going to set the clock until the 4th of July. And if things don't turn dramatically, I will be ready to believe that last October was the greatest postseason mirage in Philly sports history. If this team plays like crap for another month, I will absolutely be convinced that when you talk about lightning in a bottle, absolutely what a crazy turnaround that last September, really last October, because they played like crap the last 2 weeks. The last October was the greatest just 5 weeks of magic horseshoe up the butt that we've ever seen in Philly sports history.
If you win 11 out of 17 games, is that magic? Is that horseshoe up the buttish?
Against that competition, it is. Yes.
Okay.
Against that competition, I do believe it is. Because you were playing against the best of the best. You weren't winning, you weren't going 11-6 versus...
Good point.
You know, the Marlins and oh, by the way, the Marlins that are ahead of you in the standings.
No, it was
on May 30th, which is ridiculous.
Yeah, it was St. Louis, it was the Padres, it was the Braves.
Correct.
It was Houston.
It was Houston.
Yeah.
That's really good.
It is. It is. I don't know. While it was a magical run, I don't know if we were fooled by anything. Do you
I think going into this season, we were all fooled. We all thought this team was going to be much better than this. If I had told you that
yes, you're right.
If I told you this team was going to be 25-28, I don't believe any one of us would have believed it. And there's no reason for it. You would have said 25-28. Well, Nola must have went out on the DL. Wheeler must have been out.
Harper
didn't come back. Everything is broken right for this team. And they're 25-28.
That's kind of scary.
It is. It's very scary.
Last year we said the Phillies were doing it, and there was nothing that wasn't sustainable. Remember?
Absolutely.
When they were going on that hot streak, it was, okay, nobody's like just going crazy and doing this, and you say, wow, they're winning because of this guy or that. No, they just sustainably played really good baseball. And this year it hasn't been there so far, and we can blame both. Pitching, I think Pat's right, goes first.
Their fundamentals are terrible again.
Yeah.
Again.
I was thinking of you the other day. I guess the game was on Fox, and they were talking about how great the Phillies' aggressive base running was. And I said somewhere Kincade sitting in his house, going nuts about that.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah, it's great.
It did work the other day. But there's just, this year, there's really nothing sustainable that you can put your hands around that can carry you.
I'm so tired of hearing about wait for Schwarber. It's pathetic. You're hitting 165 and
you're hitting 165 with the shift being eliminated.
That's pathetic.
Yeah, it's
that's a bad approach at the plate. And not saying he can't turn it around to maybe be a 210 hitter, 215 hitter and hit a bunch of dingers.
Let's hope he gets up to 210.
His defenders would tell you that he's always been boomer bust, and that's still what he is. He leads the team in home runs, and now where he's batting in the lineup, he should lead the team in RBIs. It's crazy. He hit a home run the other night, and it was a 2-run home run. And you know what that means,
You were
guys?
shocked.
It means that somebody was on base.
Is that what they mean?
Yeah. So
I never
if it's
realized
a 2-run
that's
home
what
run,
it meant.
somebody was on base. Now, we're not accustomed to that because last year nobody was on base. But it's pretty frustrating. I thought his average would improve, not to the level of like 250, but I thought his average would improve with the shift being eliminated.
He's 50 points below last year's average, by the way.
And it took him a while to get going last year. But my problem is we're banking on him hitting a hot streak, and what if it just never comes?
Yeah, I mean, and a hot streak could be just getting up to 195 and hitting 10 home runs in a month. I do expect a 10 home run month out of him.
It seems to be his norm in June.
Yeah, we're going to get something like that, whether it comes up here. But to me, I mean, he's got 31 hits right now.
I mean, that's hard.
2 months into the season, he's got 31 hits.
He struck out. I would assume he struck out more times than hits.
Double.
Are you kidding me? He struck out
65.
Yeah,
65. He's got 65 strikeouts. He's got 31 hits. And we're talking about in 53 games. He has twice as many strikeouts as he has hits.
At least he's not doing that in the leadoff spot. Positivity right there.
There you go.
Good point, Pat.
Silver linings.
Now, the one thing that is his on-base percentage still not terrible, 323. Not terrible.
But I mean, considering he's in a $197, that's great.
That's incredible. But I mean, it's like he's one of those guys though that I think because of last year he's getting a pass. And I understand it. There's a honeymoon period. Pat, that's the term you used, right?
Yeah.
Honeymoon period. Yeah. So, hey,
it's the
Mets. Win 2 out of 3 versus the Mets. Tell me that this year's different.
Well, I mean, one of those games is against Scherzer.
On Thursday, the day game is against Scherzer.
Yeah, that's going to be tough. He's talented.
I'm thinking 3 of 3. They get all 3 this series. I feel it.
I'm interested to see what they do against Senga tonight. It's their first look at him. A lot of Ks. But, yeah.
There you go.
Good luck. Strikes out a lot of people.
That's what that means. Yes, a lot of Ks.
Yeah.
Hey, if your basement or your crawl space smells musty or has watermarks on the block walls, you need to get a completely free home inspection from the experts. Call BQ Basements and Concrete because the problem's only going to get worse. In Cooney's Corner, Bob believes that there's a hint that the Sixers are just going to run it all back.
Now, let's see what's in Cooney's Corner.
It just reeks of it to me. And good or bad, I don't know. If they were going to change things up, I don't know that Nick Nurse would have been the hire. I think they may have gone another direction. It may have been a Chris Quinn. It may have been somebody that doesn't have the NBA pedigree and the stances that Nick Nurse has. And then the end-all, be-all, you look in yet another, air quotes, relationship with Daryl Morey. One of Pat's biggest pet peeves in life is nepotism. This isn't nepotism in the fact that none of these people that, from the James Hardens to go on down to Nick Nurse, that these people aren't related to Daryl Morey. But does it worry you, his penchant for hiring players, others in the organization that he has a history with? Does it bother you that his tendency to hire people like that?
Yes. It absolutely does.
Is that why Nick Nurse got the nod over others?
No, I think
if it is, it's really concerning.
I think it's best coach available.
There's a lot of good coaches available.
No, there were.
And I'm not.
I don't believe Monty Williams is Nick Nurse yet. I don't believe that. Monty Williams has a chance to ascend to that kind of level. I don't think he's there yet. I don't think he's the strategist that Nick Nurse is. I think Nick Nurse was the best hire available. So maybe that's one of those situations where it worked in the Sixers' favor. The nepotism, the familiarity.
Maybe. I mean, obviously it'll be yet to be seen. Nick Nurse likes to play his regulars minutes. That leads me to believe, okay, the regulars you had last year are going to get a lot of minutes this year. Therefore, they will be back this year.
And is Harden ready for that?
Harden always plays a lot of minutes.
No, but is Harden ready for
35, 36 minutes every year?
Yeah, but is he ready to? Yeah, but I need him to perform on a consistent basis. If you told me right now, you said earlier, what if Nick Nurse said to him, I need you to be 16 and 11? If you told me that I could get that for James Harden and he plays 73 games, 74 games, I'm in. Oh, I'm totally in.
Yeah.
But I don't believe that James Harden can be that.
Can't be that because he doesn't want to be that, or can't be that he was 2010 this year. 16 and 11 isn't like far of a reach, you know. And I don't put numbers on it, such as you have to be a lesser score. I look at it that I wonder if Nick Nurse is going to come in here and say, James, I need you to be more of a facilitator. I can't have the 18 dribbles, step back three.
Isolation basketball.
Yeah, I need the ball to move. I need the team to move. I want your outlet passes more than you've ever thrown them before, because I think he's a phenomenal outlet passer. Yeah, I think he's really good at running off the dribble and throwing passes that way, long bounce passes, hitting guys in stride that way. I wonder if it's best for the team, I should say, for Harden to be that 16 and 11 guy than he is looking to be that 25 and 8-10 guy.
But where do you get the other scoring, though, Pat, would be my question for Bobby there. Where do you get the other scoring? If you're not asking Harden to score in the 20s, are you asking Maxey to ascend?
Yeah, you're hoping that Maxey ascends to kind of that 25 a game.
I think that's a lot to ask of Maxey right now.
That is a lot, yeah.
It's a whole lot.
So, I mean, and
where else is it coming from?
And additions to the roster?
Well, I don't think he can. I said this when you were out, John. I don't think P.J. Tucker can be in the starting lineup. I know what he is, and God bless him for what he does, and that role that he plays, terrific. But if you tell me on any other team, yeah, you're going to have a guy that's a hustle guy that'll get you some rebounds here and there that you didn't expect, and play pretty decent defense, but he can't score for you. All he can do offensively as far as scoring is hit you corner threes, because that's all. That's it. It's not top of the key threes. It's not wing threes. It's only corner threes. If you're not getting that from P.J. Tucker, you're getting absolutely nothing offensively. I can't start him again this year. I can't. I'll have him come off the bench and be that motor guy and get them going. That's great. But I need like a 3-and-D wing guy. I need a guy that can beat you off the dribble on a wing. You look at Boston, you look at Miami, they have a plethora of guys who can grab a ball and beat you off the dribble when they have to. Who's the Sixer that can do that? Exactly.
I don't know. No, I don't
exactly.
know.
No, you're exactly
That's
right.
why I say to you, would Nick Nurse prefer to – is there any way Nick Nurse would prefer to take one step back to take 2 steps forward?
Nick Nurse
to rework this roster a little bit
with the organization. That's the bigger
I don't think
tale.
the organization will.
Well, yeah.
This sounds like what you're saying.
Right?
This sounds like running it back.
Yeah.
Who's the best coach to run it back with? Monty Williams, I actually think they'd be willing to. If they hired him, I'd say maybe they wanted to give Monty more of his what he wants.
Yeah. I don't know.
player-wise.
I don't know who the best one would be. Nurse is right up there. Absolutely.
It's really an interesting story. This is going to be an interesting story. Can't wait to hear. Well, any idea when you think he'll be introduced? Like later in the week, I guess.
My first
Do
thought
they like
was
him doing it in the finals?
Wednesday, Thursday.
Does the NBA because the
It'll
NHL
be-
hates it?
Yeah, when does
The finals
NBA
begin
finals,
Thursday.
Thursday,
so they probably would do it Wednesday. That's tomorrow, though.
No, I'd say Friday then.
I thought they didn't. You know how Major League Baseball does the embargo during the World Series?
Yeah.
And the NHL hates it. You to do anything, like they actually block you from doing it. I wonder how that's going to go with
I recall
with Nick
something
Nurse.
happening during the NBA finals before, so
I
I
love
would
this.
assume Friday then.
I thought it was a perfect day to do it yesterday, though. Game 7 of the Celtics series, where they go down in flames. I love that. But anybody who's laughing this morning, like I see Sixers fans on social media today being like, "Ha ha, Celtics lost." Look, we all hate the Celtics, so that's fine.
Yeah.
But the Celtics showed a lot more balls than the Sixers did.
Oh, I don't care. I'm enjoying this.
Sixers were up 3-2 with
No, I
everything
don't care.
with everything right in their laps, and gutless performance in the down the stretch in Game 6, and a pathetic performance in Game 7.
Yeah, I like watching my enemies fall.
No, that's fine, but it doesn't make me feel better
It
about
makes me feel better.
my troops.
I feel
Does
better.
it really?
Really,
Yeah.
it does.
Oh, absolutely.
Makes
Yeah.
you feel better about the Sixers?
So the Sixers
No.
broke you.
That's
That's what I
no.
thought you said.
No, it doesn't make me feel better about the Sixers. It just makes me feel better.
Oh.
Well,
To
that's
watch
fine.
The Boston Celtics sit dejected on the bench, getting hammered by 20, all wearing matching T-shirts that say "unfinished business." That brings me a smile because I'm miserable. So watching them go down brings me a little joy.
I understand, Pat. I
I
totally
totally
understand
totally
it.
understand
I
it.
don't-
Mature? No, it's not
No,
mature.
no. I don't think it's
I probably
immature.
should grow from this.
I
But
hate
you know what?
I hate them.
I'm 5'3". I'm done growing. I can't stand them. I liked watching them lose.
John, if you could have another body part, add anything to your body.
I'd like 14 inches back of my colon.
All right.
Yeah.
Besides
other than that.
Bob, that was a
Other
light.
than
you,
that.
you knew that was
You
coming.
knew that
Besides that,
What was that?
what would you? What body part? I don't know if you heard the segment. we
Another
had
body
last week.
part?
If you could have another body part, or what would it be? Now, Pat added. I'll just give you. Pat added 9 inches to each leg so that he could be 5'10".
Well, man, that's not another body part,
Okay,
though.
first of all, it made me 6 foot.
Oh, so I'm sorry.
Let's
I
not
thought
lie.
I thought you said 5'10".
Let's not lie. It's
I think I
changed
would
to a
want-
body part.
I think I'd go with, how about a third eye?
Oh, I thought he was going to
third
say.
eye. What a
it.
weirdo.
I thought you were going to say.
No.
what my
Walk down
answer
the street
was.
with me wearing with a third eye. But I'm out.
Back of my
in the
head.
back of his head.
Oh, I'm out.
See, now he's pulling out the
The
smartness.
third
Pat.
eye in the back of the head.
That's not bad.
Do you want to take a guess? And you might have been listening at the time. Do you want to take a wild guess what our boy Jamie said?
I did not hear any of this.
Because I didn't disagree with him. on it.
Did he say
I forgot.
the
I
big
just
wiener?
remembered. No. We kept.
I was
no,
thinking
we did
Jamie.
not.
Come on, he's a little more mature than that.
Well, little. Let's be honest. I thought a third hand for Jamie.
no.
Because
Bobby?
sometimes you
Bobby,
need a
what did
third
he-
hand,
what did-
right?
what did he say?
What did he say, Bobby?
Boobs. And
So
he
he
said
could
it
play
just
with
like that.
He wanted to be Chandler
he
Bing and have a third nipple?
So he could jiggle them, so
he
he
wanted
could
to
play
play
with
with
them, so he could take a jog with
Yeah, he
them,
wanted to take 'em out
swing
for a
a
test
golf
run.
club with them.
You want to have that?
It
a
was
third,
pretty funny.
A third jiggle.
It wasn't a third. It was
No, he just wanted a pair of boobs.
I-
I wanted another thumb.
Why'd you want to? What do you want to thumb?
Because I think I outthought the people I was with.
You didn't.
What makes us different from every other animal?
We have thumbs.
We have opposing thumbs.
But
so
now you
if
want
that
two.
makes us so much better than other animals, why not get another one to make us that much more better?
He sounds like Roman Roy, Pat, after the missile launch.
Right?
After the rocket launch. Wait a minute, we just lost two thumbs?
Yeah, Bob thinks he's next level with this.
We
because
just
he
lost two
realizes
thumbs?
How idiotic it is.
By the way, Pat.
I don't know. I think it's cool.
I don't know. I disagree.
There are so many ways that Pat Egan has improved my life
Oh, thanks, bud.
that I will say. Pat,
How bad was your life?
Pat taught me. Pat taught me about using the free bets
Yeah.
and put them as futures bets. And I cashed in.
I won a little bit last night by hedging.
I cashed in the Joel Embiid MVP this year, big time. And now I cashed in the Vegas Golden Knights Western Conference champions, and I have them as Stanley Cup champions on futures bets because I was all in on Vegas. So I love that, rooting for my buddy Darren to win a cup again. But I do also, though, think that Pat taught me that people are a-holes on social media. He taught me about mute for some people, which is a great button.
Mm-hmm.
But he also taught me about muting words.
Mm-hmm.
And Olivia wakes up and goes, Dad, we didn't watch the final of Succession. And she was getting, so she goes, oh my God, people are spoiling it. I'm like, what kind of a-holes go on social media right after a show is on and start ruining it? I mean, I've had people shush you after like a week or two, going, it's still too early.
I didn't see Willa ending out on top.
See, you never knew that, right?
It was a crazy turn.
By the way, Willa, on a hot scale, you're a big fan?
Yeah, she's attractive.
Big fan.
Yes.
Yeah,
I haven't done Succession.
You'd really enjoy it.
Yeah,
It's a great show.
It's an amazing. They did an amazing job creating a show that you hate all the characters.
I
And yet
think.
you
Oh, is that
watch.
right?
Oh,
You
they
still
hate
watch.
them all.
Yeah, they're
I
all
think that,
despicable.
Pat, I would say to you, and you're the cinephile here, I would say the casting for that show is as good as anything I've ever seen.
Yeah, I was talking to a buddy about it, and they absolutely crushed it.
And
They took a bunch of characters, and most of the known characters at the time the show started, they were known as what do I know that guy from?
he's a character actor.
Brian
Right.
Cox just admitted that it wasn't until this show that he started being recognized on the street as Brian Cox from Succession.
Right.
And not just, you're that guy in that thing.
Christina
And it's like a tour de force of acting performances.
Christina and Olivia love Tom.
See, I
But
hate
they love Tom from
from
Mr. Darcy.
I was just about to say, because I hear the same crap.
They love him because he was
Tom.
Mr. Darcy.
And I'm like, you love
On what
Tom
show?
from Pride and Prejudice.
They love him from Pride and Prejudice.
I didn't see that.
And
one.
they absolutely they love him for that. But I think it was the best casting, Bob, is what I would tell you is it is just stay away from any reading of spoilers.
All right.
But it is the best casting of a show that I think I've ever seen.
Yeah, it's up
How about that?
The actors they chose, and they didn't choose, they chose a lot of character actors.
Yeah.
And they're all perfect for the part that they play.
So it's interesting you bring this up. My wife brought up yesterday in the car, a song came on the radio, and she said, "Oh, this is from the greatest movie ever." And I'm like, "Really? What? One of the greatest movies ever, or whatever?" And
What's the movie?
she said that I can't. She said, "I can't believe you've never seen this movie, and I don't want you to go down as that guy that never saw that movie."
What movie?
Like that's how
Howard the Duck is a
adamant.
great movie.
Dirty Dancing.
I hated it.
I was like, I have no desire to
I
ever
don't-
see it. I don't want to see
hated it.
I don't think you need to see that.
She said,
No,
you
you don't
can't
need
go
to
down
see
as
it.
that guy that never saw that
There
movie.
are many guys who didn't see it.
My wife doesn't talk like that. That's how adamant she was on this yesterday.
I don't see a situation, Bob, where you get to the pearly gates and St. Peter goes, "Look, you lived a good life. You had 4 kids.
I've had the time of my
no
life."
rest. Yeah, but you never saw Dirty Dancing, so we're gonna hold you out."
I hated it.
I mean, I said, and I looked at her, I said, do you know what? Like, do you really think I'm going to sit down and watch a movie about
A chick flick?
Is it?
Yes,
is that
it's
what
a
it
chick
is?
flick.
Absolutely, it is.
I have never seen.
Yeah, she really got on me about
I think
it.
Patrick Swayze, except for what Roadhouse,
Yeah, Dalton.
don't like him in anything else.
Oh, he was great in The Outsiders.
Didn't like him.
Very
Didn't
young.
like him in Ghost.
Patrick
Point Break.
I
Swayze.
saw Ghost on a date. A date that ended poorly.
Did she ghost you?
It was a terrible no. It was before ghosting was available. I wish she'd ghosted
She was
me.
blind and she started feeling his face.
I
just
wish
like
she'd ghosted me. Oh, man.
the music video, and she was like, "Oh, all right."
Pat's
John Kincade guy. Nope, no, I'm good.
Pat's looking to help Dave Dombrowski. Or is he? We'll get to it next. 9 o'clock hour of the John Kincade Show is right around the corner. Stick with us. Glad to be back with you here on 97.5 The Fanatic.
Flyers, Union, and the best Eagles talk in Philadelphia. 97.5 The Fanatic. Now, back to the John Kincade Show on 97.5 The Fanatic, Philadelphia.
Your Memorial Day weekend has officially ended. Now we start to head towards the official start of summer. The unofficial start began over the weekend. Are you a follower of unofficial summer or summer?
Am I a fan of unofficial?
No, are you a follower of that?
Oh.
You believe summer has begun?
I kind of look at it like that, yeah. No,
I look at it that way.
Yeah, I look at it that way.
Summer's begun.
Summer's begun because when we pull into the parking lot at 4:30 in the morning, there's light in the sky. That there's still light in the sky at 9 o'clock at night.
I love that.
love all of that. Yeah, the fact that every Friday when we go home, we're going to run into traffic, or at least I do going to South Jersey. Yeah, that says summer to
Does
me.
it still make you smile though?
Oh yeah, I don't. Yeah,
because you're
I
like,
love
okay,
summer. You know
people
how
are
much
heading
I
down
love
to the
summer.
beach.
Yeah.
Which is going to be great. Hopefully everybody had a great time this weekend. You can save big at Whole Foods Market. Made in-house plain and marinated chicken or beef kebabs are just $7.99 a pound with Prime through May 30th. While supplies last, shop in-store or online and terms do apply. May 30th is today.
Yes,
so if you want
is.
those kebabs, get after it.
I got a lot of. June is huge in my family.
Meaning?
I've got one of my kids' birthdays, a niece's birthday. Both sisters were married in June. A brother and a sister have birthdays in June. So yeah, it's big.
So June is a very busy time for you.
It is
in your
very.
family.
Yeah, but we'll figure it all out.
You'll figure it all out. You make the time for it there. By the way, Alex says, has anyone figured out yet that Pat looks like he could be Nick Nurse's younger brother?
All right, dude. Like, really?
Wait, really?
No.
Alex is a huge fan of yours.
No, Alex.
He thinks you look like you could be Nick Nurse's younger brother.
Don't do that to me. I know my limitations here, but don't put that evil on me. I do not look like Nick Nurse's younger brother. And if I do look like his younger brother, I'm his much better looking brother.
That's okay. You can be that, Pat.
Looking like Nick Nurse's brother. No, I'm not.
He
taking
doesn't
that.
like Nick Nurse?
No.
Nick Nurse is not an ugly man.
It's not a good looking guy.
It's because of the glasses.
Not.
Glasses.
He went with
You
contacts.
can be handsome and have glasses also.
It's not the I just don't see Nick Nurse pulling up to a bar and
saying, "What's up?"
And all of a sudden he's Mr. Steal Your Girl.
Oof.
What do you do for a living? I make $6 million a year being a head basketball coach. I bet you that makes him a little more attractive.
By the way, Joe.
Yeah, you're right. Because when I tell people that I work with Bob Cooney, a lot of women just grab their drink and just turn around and walk away.
Heads.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Well, they're wondering where
Why are you
Bob
being
is. They're
mean to
looking.
me?
No, they're looking for Bob.
I was just saying how
Yeah,
Nick
that's
Nurse
what
might
it
be
is,
more
John.
attractive.
Yes, they're looking for Bob. Yeah, where's he at? Is he here?
Joe, our
coincidentally, he's usually at a PJ's happy hour. So yeah, Bob is there.
Joe, one of our fine listeners who listens because he has to, says he disagrees on hating all the characters on Succession.
There's two.
He said, "Who could possibly hate cousin Greg?"
Yeah,
I could.
Greg's the popular guy.
Greg's a weasel.
I don't hate Greg at all.
Okay.
We can talk about this off air because I don't want to give out spoilers.
No,
The
you
only
have to give
people,
spoilers.
though,
Yeah.
The only people I don't think are dislikable are Greg and Jerry. But
I like
primarily 95% of the cast or the characters
despicable
are disgusting, despicable human beings that
They're
you wish nothing
terrible.
but the worst for. But yeah, I mean, yes, cousin
They're
Greg,
terrible.
that's a gimme.
Yeah, he's our big listener. Joe loves cousin
That's your
Greg.
boy, Joe. He's got.
He loves
Is that
cousin
your boy,
Greg.
Joe?
No, it's the big boss, Joe.
Oh, that Joe.
He sent an email to us saying he doesn't think all the characters are
talking-
despicable.
We talking Joe B?
Yes.
Well, then
There
I
you
agree
go.
with whatever he said.
Yeah, I'm on board with what
Yeah,
he's saying.
no disagreement.
All right, now you like to agree with management then, Pat. So do you agree with the Phillies' fifth starter, and what are they going to do about it? Let's find out in Pat's point of view.
This is Pat's point of view. Here's Pat.
Here he is.
Hi, guys.
Hey, Pat.
So, first of all, screw the Tampa Bay Devil Rays. Tampa Bay Rays.
The
whatever
Devil
they-
Dogs.
Whatever they want to call themselves. Stupid name. Screw them. because of them, we've got this issue of the opener, bullpen games. All this crap that has led to this is dating back to the Rays. Because it somehow worked for the Rays, so now every organization goes, oh, we can survive on a bullpen game. Even though it's dumb and it taxes your bullpen, and it hasn't worked for the Phillies, they continue to think that it will. So yeah, we'll throw Matt Strahm in there. Yeah, go ahead. Oh, Covey, you just got here? Yeah, okay, you get in there. It's idiotic. Now, John, when you were out, we discussed what to do about the fifth starter spot, and I hearken back to in 2006?
Okay.
Or even 2007. They called up Kyle Kendrick from AA. And they were just like, look, you're next man up. We need a spot start. And Kendrick pitched really well, and he just ended up staying in the rotation and ended up working out. He had a nice major league career, and he was a decent fifth starter for the team. But they weren't scared to go to AA and grab a kid. They didn't sit there and go, oh, okay, let's do a bullpen game. So
yeah, let's
Arthur
be afraid.
Arthur Rhodes, you're going to start, and then we'll have Tom Gordon come in for 2 innings, and it's idiotic. The Phillies, do not get fooled by what Dave Dombrowski is telling you and all. The Phillies have options. Griff McGarry has been tearing up AA. And he is
bad outing last time, but that's one outing.
No, he didn't have a bad outing last time.
I thought he did.
No. Dude's got a 1.86 ERA this season. I think the last outing he went 4 innings, but he gave up no earned runs. Here's the other problem, though, is Griff McGarry goes 4 innings and he had like 50-something pitches. Why is he only going 4 innings?
Because it's the Phillies?
But exactly. It's the Phillies. That's the best example.
Is that the best answer I can give you?
It is the Phillies. So that's why he's only going 4 innings or whatever it is. But no, his last start was May 24th. He went 4 innings, gave up no earned runs, had 3 strikeouts, and as I said, he went like 50 pitches. It's ridiculous. But you could call up Griff McGarry. He's 23 years old. He was drafted out of college, so he's an advanced arm. He's pitching in a bandbox in Reading in a hitter's ballpark, and he still has a 1.86 ERA. If you're really desperate for a fifth starter, call him up, see what the kid's got. Probably shouldn't have even started at AA. He probably should start at AAA. If you don't want to go Griff McGarry, Christopher Sanchez just had a really nice start in AAA, and he's on your 40-man, so you're not going to have to move anybody off. And he coincidentally had his really nice start the same day you needed a fifth starter. What the hell are we doing? What the hell is Dave Dombrowski doing? I just gave you 2 options there in your minor league system that you could go to, but instead, we're going to play grab ass with Griff McGarry and Christopher Sanchez and not call them up for fear of what? You're taxing your bullpen. If I have to see Connor Brogdon come in there one more time, followed by Gregory Soto, like these 2 guys are up there in terms of appearances in Major League Baseball. Their arms are falling off. What the hell are we doing? This is idiotic. You need pitchers. Go to the minor leagues like every other damn team. Like, what did you draft them for?
I agree with you.
Well, we're going to wait till Griff McGarry's 25? And then when we call him up, don't worry, when we call him up, he's going to be a long man.
Let's nurse him.
He's going to be a long man, and then he'll get a spot start. But then he'll go back and he'll be a 7th inning guy. And then maybe he'll just find his way into the rotation. Enough.
There you go.
I was thinking of this yesterday, Pat. Great point. I couldn't believe, first of all, that there's no Phillies game on Memorial Day.
Phillies and the Mets, 2 of the biggest markets in the nation, not playing on Memorial Day. It's so stupid.
So I thought that was stupid. Then I started to think back when I was a kid, and it all comes back to what Pat was talking about. When we were kids, John, Labor Day, the Phillies would always play a doubleheader, a scheduled doubleheader, usually against the Pittsburgh Pirates. It was awesome. I loved it. What happened when we were kids? When they played a doubleheader, you knew the pitcher starting the first game, and the second game was always somebody they called up from AAA just so that they would get you some innings. Exactly what Pat's saying. It was as simple as that. And then either the guy pitched well, and maybe you'd hear from him again some other time in the season, or he would suck, and that would be it. But he gobbled you up some innings. Why in the holy hell, who thought this bullpen game is a good idea where it not only kills you for that game, but down the line, probably for the full week just about? Pat's absolutely right on this.
It's
Makes
terrible.
no sense.
They never figure it out.
No, and it goes back to my cursing of the Tampa Bay Rays. Chris Sanchez went 6 innings May 28th. He gave up no earned runs. He struck out 7. I'd rather see him at this point. And the real question is, could he be worse? Is he going to be worse than what you've thrown out there? More importantly, is it going to be worse than what you already have in your rotation in terms of like Taijuan Walker? Probably not. Will he save your bullpen some arms? Will he give up some innings?
That's what you
probably.
need. That's what you need, saved innings. You need those innings to be – you can't be down 10-0
This
in
team.
8-1. Hey, 9 o'clock hour is brought to you by the Bagster. It's a dumpster in a bag. You can get yours today at Home Depot and Lowe's. And for details, go to Bagster.com. The Phillies play the Mets tonight. I'm excited about that. Opening up a series against the Mets.
You know what I can't stand? You know how
The Mets?
Well, that too. But there's like little things about teams, especially rivals, that you just can't stand.
Yeah, what can't you stand about the Mets?
Like the Cowboys always wearing white at home when everybody else was going dark jerseys at home and stuff like that. The Mets starting time of 7:10 has bothered me since I was a little kid.
Don't like it.
Every other team says 7 o'clock, but we always know that it starts at like 7:08, 7:10. I can't stand the Mets.
I think they used to blame it on, I'm not sure, they used to blame it on the train schedule.
Ah, that's crap.
That would drop
Screw
off.
the Mets.
Hey.
And the airplanes going overhead all the time.
I hate it. Chris is on the Fanatic. Chris, good morning. You're on the show. How are you, buddy?
Good morning. How are you?
Good, man.
All right. So, I'm pretty sure it was Pat that was talking about the Phillies' fifth rotation.
Yes.
It's horrible. It's a sacrifice of a law. You're losing every fifth game because of it. There's no chance you'll win. It's so unlikely, and it's just idiotic. I just don't understand. It makes no sense. We're throwing out guys that started once. Like Matt Strom started super early in his career as a starter. Why is he in the bullpen? Because he wasn't performing well.
Yeah, I don't understand. He was their best option as a fifth starter.
And
He
then
was
look
their
what
best
he did
option,
in the
and it-
Diamondbacks game, he didn't do well. It's either maybe he does do well if you start putting him more in games, but you have to actually let him go 5, 6, maybe 7 innings if he's doing well, or you bring up a guy in the minor league system, because there are quite an abundance of players in the minor leagues who are or not on the 40-man roster. And what's the worst thing that happens? They give you what you're already getting in the fifth rotation spot right now.
Yeah, I don't understand it, because to me it was absolutely 100% I don't understand how this team is so, I don't know, nonchalant.
Were you here when they did the Bailey Falter thing?
No.
Or you were off?
No, I was off.
Did that tick you off as much as it did me? We're not going to start him in the first inning because he doesn't pitch well in the first inning.
So dumb.
So they start somebody else who struggles. Brogdon they started, and then he struggles mightily, and they bring Falter in with 2 outs in the first inning. What in the holy
It's
hell
so
kind
dumb.
of thinking is that?
It's dumb. It's literally
No idea what's going on.
No, it's a spreadsheet nerd telling them that this is a strategy you can do. Because baseball people would not tell you that's a strategy.
Made no
Guys who actually played the game, managed the game, understand the game, would not be doing that. New age pencil pushers would tell you that, yes, this makes sense. Let's do it, Myron.
Oh, I hated it.
Oh, it's terrible. I'm going to tell you this right off the bat. James Harden is who I thought he was. And this isn't letting Joel Embiid off the hook. It's just addressing the variable that I believe can't come back. And I understand he has to, because it's sort of required. But what does that say? We're required to bring back somebody and we have no chance to win with them? Because you can't give me a reason to believe that a year older, James Harden, with a guaranteed contract with huge bank for 3 more some years, is going to finally be motivated to take his game to the next level or to come through in the clutch. He's inconsistent. He's always banged up. And his resume shows you over and over again when the playoff pressure is brightest. Game 6s, Game 7s. James Harden doesn't show up. It is a fact. It's not an opinion. It's a fact. And I'm not going to drink the Kool-Aid of thinking, yeah, this will be different, especially as a guy enters into his mid-30s. I realize, well, the only chance for 2023, 2024 to be an exciting season is if Harden comes back. Okay, but can it be a championship season? Because if that was what that whole entire process was supposed to be about, and you're telling me that bringing James Harden back puts you in a position to win a championship, I'm going to tell you, you're just wishing and hoping. And that is not a strategy. I don't believe it. Harden's exactly who I thought he was from the beginning, and he just reinforces it.
They're thinking maybe is that he puts them in the best position. I mean, without him,
To what?
it's a no
to
position.
potentially win a second-round series?
I don't know. I'm talking about their thinking. I don't know. If we were lucky enough to have a Sixers executive on the air,
Which would be great if we would.
yeah, I think one of our questions would be, do you think moving forward with James Harden is a winning formula? Of course, they would say, yeah, we do, because this, that, and the other.
I want to hear what this, that, and the other is.
I know, so would I. Wouldn't that be cool?
Because I don't understand, and the organization should be able to articulate it.
Yeah, and you can articulate by saying they're not going to, but they're just stuck.
But if you just tell me it's their best option, bringing back Harden is their best option. Best option for what? Best option to flame out in the second round? Best option to crap your pants on national television down the stretch in Game 6 at home and Game 7 not even to be able to show up and be down 25, 30 points? That's what your best option is? Best option for what? Because 52 wins doesn't mean anything. It doesn't mean a thing. And I know Anthony and Chunas will tell me how, well, don't you want to be entertained? I do. But I'm dying to be entertained in the spring. I'm dying to be entertained in late April and early May. I'm tired of hearing about this crap that February and January and March matter. They don't matter. The Heat are showing you it doesn't matter. Can you play in the clutch? Do you have the DNA to perform when it matters? And if you tell me that you believe James Harden does, just do his Game 6, Game 7 stats for his career in the postseason. By the way, throw out the goober first round. Throw out first round of the playoffs. And then do Game 6, Game 7's James Harden from that point on. And you know what you're going to find out? He is not an answer. If he's an answer to a question, you're asking the wrong question. You are asking it wrong. I understand. Well, we got to keep him. There's no better option. No better option for what? For failing again? For misery? What is it that you're thinking Nick Nurse is going to change? What's he going to change about James Harden? Is there a switch that Doc Rivers couldn't find that Nick Nurse is going to find? I don't get it. And what about for Joel Embiid, too, not letting him off the hook? This far into his career, he needs a psychiatrist? He needs somebody to motivate him? Like he needs someone to motivate him for a Game 6 at home?
Yeah, the motivation thing, like if these guys, I don't think there's any, I don't think we can question motivation. Like these guys are out there to win. We've seen it. I hope to God, I've never seen a professional athlete that I looked at him and said, my God, does he even want to win? I mean, that's rare to me.
What did you think Game 6, Game 7? About Embiid and Harden?
Yeah, I thought they were horrible. I thought they were absolutely horrible. And it looked like they did kind of quit down towards the end.
They did.
You know, it's crazy. Like they played 62 games, and during that 62 game stretch in which they went 46-16, and we talked about it. We were like, wow, this team just looks different than they have in years past. Their offense is good. Their defense is good. They have that pick and roll play, which other teams find really hard to stop. And then the playoffs came, and you ran into coaches and teams that tried ways to stop what we really like.
They took it away.
And the Sixers were kind of stuck with their thumbs in their mouths. Like, now what do we do? I didn't think that was going to come about. I didn't think that the likes of James Harden and Joel Embiid, with their offensive skill set and with their NBA acumen, were going to be able to be fooled by a simple 3-2 zone or a double teaming of one player or switches that occurred jumping a ball, which you have to have seen hundreds of times. It was mind-numbing the way they went out to that Boston Celtics team. And forget Game 7, the last 4 minutes of Game 6. You had a 2-point lead with 4.5 minutes to go. Think about that.
I sat in those stands. No, we stood.
Oh, you were there. That's right.
We stood in those stands. And I learned that my daughter knew curse words I didn't know she knew.
Whoa. Liv throwing out the bombs.
Pat, I was somewhat impressed because I truly have. I always knew that I had raised a Philadelphian, even though she was raised in the South.
At least you walked away from that game impressed with something.
She let some bombs go a couple times.
Well, so did I.
And Joel and Harden were the targets. She was oh my gosh. She was letting them fly. Mitch Stoller was there from the AACR. I think he learned a few new words. They were pissed. Game 6 was terrible. That was the worst.
That was ultimate worst.
And then to roll, and in Game 7, you have a lead. You have a 7-point lead, you have a 9-point lead, and then you just, the minute Boston punches you in the face, you curl on your back like a puppy. And you just get rolled over. Embarrassing. That was pathetic. Absolutely pathetic.
He's had it pent up for a long time.
Well, it was. Thankfully,
It's been brewing in there.
I said that day.
Sound like us last week.
No, I told Dr. Schoon Young, my surgeon, I said, let's have a little extra anesthesia, could I? Because I don't want to think about this Sixers game at all. It was the day after. It was terrible. Absolutely horrendous. It is. I still can't believe the way it all came down. Hey, we're heading into the final stretch of the morning. It's presented by Stretch Zone. If you want to relieve sore muscles, increase your flexibility and range of motion, book a free 30-minute stretch session today at StretchZone.com. They'll take great care of you, and you'll be all ready to lug all the stuff down to the beach. Do you have a beach cart?
Yes, we do.
You have a cart.
Yeah, don't have the need for it now that much because the kids are grown. They can carry their own stuff, But before, when they were little, it was it wasn't good. It's funny talking about kids, John. You weren't here, so a buddy of mine, Anthony, who I text back and forth with, 34 years old, called that Sixers loss the worst sports moment in his life.
Which Game 7?
Game 6.
Oh, it was terrible.
And think about that. But we were talking about it for a generation, Pat's age, all of that. That's probably not an overstatement. That Game 6 loss by the Sixers was the worst sports moment of their life.
Okay, that's crazy.
But it's probably true.
Game 6 was terrible. I mean, it pissed me off. I was so pissed off.
You had the second round won with 4 minutes to go on your home court. And you couldn't pull it out. And your biggest stars were nowhere to be found.
That confetti's still sitting up in the rafters. It's still sitting up in the rafters waiting.
It's been there since 2001.
Oh, my gosh. Hey, we get ready for a Phillies-Mets series. We got even something a little bit on the Eagles coming up, too. Glad to be back with you. Glad to be back with the crew.
LG Smart TV weighs and more. That's Odyssey, AUDACY. Check it out now. Now, back to the John Kincade Show on 97.5 The Fanatic, Philadelphia.
It's the final stretch of the morning, and it's presented by Stretch Zone. If you want to relieve sore muscles, increase your flexibility and range of motion, book a free 30-minute stretch session today at stretchzone.com. So check out our friends at Stretch Zone. I look forward to be able to getting back to my stretch. I cannot yet.
You just bent over. And
I bent over and I said,
made a sound. I said, "Oh, John, what's the matter? You don't like to be bent over?" And he said, "No,
that was a whole nother issue."
He said, "It still hurt."
Yeah, it still hurts. It feels like
I couldn't stand being bent over like that.
Yeah, I was sitting in my chair and even bending over to pick up a piece of paper and throw it in the trash can and just bending. I was like, oh, geez, that doesn't feel good. I was able to do, though, I've done 3 of the last 4 days. I've done a 2.5-mile walk or more.
Nice, yeah. When I checked in with you, what was it, yesterday, I guess? When I checked in, you said you had just gotten there. Maybe it was Saturday. You said you had just gotten back from a walk.
We found a great new park. Found a great new park near us that has a lot of shade on some of the paths. So I'll be able to use that more because I'm going to want to keep walking. I know that that's something that I did before, but I got to stay out of the direct sun. So that'll be a good thing to be able to do, or go during more like twilight hours, a little bit later on in the day, to stay out of the direct sun and be able to do that. But just a little update. Thank you, and to everybody who listens to the show, sent along nice, kind notes, voice support on social media or otherwise. You are greatly appreciated. Love you for it. Things are going to be interesting, but I'm ready for it. We did a little art project in our house yesterday.
You did?
I've got 12 treatments that I have to go through. And I did this the second time I had cancer before. Yesterday we got 12 blocks, and we colored like wood blocks yesterday, and then Liv numbered them from 1 to 12. So we're going to make a little block tower.
Nice.
And every single treatment, I'm going to take one of those blocks off.
Good.
I'm going to watch that tower go down.
Perfect.
And that's going to be just a little motivation to say, okay, just get through it. Just get through it. And if everything works out well, it'll be I'll be done the Friday before Thanksgiving. So it's going to be like 6 months of hell. You've been through this a lot. You've actually had more recent experience with this than I have.
Oh, not personally,
No, you've had friends, family, everybody. You've been dealing with this. I've not dealt with it in years, and I'm learning new things about it and everything. Dr. John Sprandio and his great team taking great care of me, preparing me for it and everything. It seems like it's going to be a much better process.
Well, your attitude it has a big part of that.
You have to have it.
Yeah, and the way you've gone about things has been truly amazing. So we're all here for you, whatever you need.
I know that. We're going to have fun.
We're all going to have fun. I don't know how much fun you're going to have, but
I may not have as much fun.
Yeah, if you need to have fun, we'll supply it for you.
I guarantee you we will.
Yeah, so we'll all be good there. Listen, a couple of people, I wanted to bring this up on the YouTube chat, have been asking. On Friday, when you weren't here, I did say that we were going to have a big announcement today. Huge announcement today.
Just a few days delayed.
It is a few days delayed because there's a couple of I's that need to be dotted and T's that need to be crossed. So we will have a big announcement coming up in the next few days. So we weren't pulling people in for no reason. It's
Correct.
just there's sometimes the legalities of things come into play.
We're just waiting for Taylor Swift to agree.
Pat.
And once she does, we'll announce it.
We'll be ready for that.
Yeah, but until then, we just got to hold off a few more days.
Hey,
playing hard to get.
DeAndre Hopkins to the Eagles. I saw it over and over again on social media this weekend. Well, DeAndre Hopkins, the Eagles should sign DeAndre Hopkins. I don't know that it makes much sense to me. I see far better ways to use your resources, and I think Howie has just created a mania about every shiny toy being on the Eagles' radar. This defense needs bolstering a hell of a lot more than the offense does. But they do need a better option at wide receiver 3. I'm sorry, Quez Watkins. I can't count on you. If one of the top 2 wide receivers miss significant time, I can't count on Quez Watkins.
Yeah, as I said, as a third receiver before, I'm still okay seeing what Quez Watkins is all about. First year good, second year not so much. I'll give him a shot this year, and I'm
he could
okay.
be 2A, where if you need him to fill in, if a twisted ankle takes one of your top receivers out for a month, 4 games, 5 games, you're okay with him being your number 2 wide receiver?
I don't mind him being the number 3 wide receiver. I'll let it grow and see how that happens. DeAndre Hopkins, the point I agree with you on is that there's other needs to fill. However, are you kidding me? You bring in another great wide receiver into this? That would be pretty cool. But I think it's just a pipe dream. Hey, what? And didn't Hopkins say something to the effect of, or hint something to the effect of Philadelphia?
Well, I mean,
thought that
it's one of the 5 teams.
Yeah, he said he'd want to play with Jalen.
No, one of the 5 teams, but Dallas is one of them too.
Yeah, I think it was he'd want to play with Dak,
Buffalo,
Allen, Mahomes.
Yeah, I mean, he picked the 5
Watson
best teams.
Yeah, smart guy, huh?
I don't blame him.
Yeah, let's see. Who went to the Super Bowl last year? Yeah, let's go those 2. And
yes, I mean, come on.
Yeah, you make a good point, though, that what if one of the top 2 go down? Is Quez Watkins that guy?
I don't
Probably
think he
not.
is.
I don't think back in the day when they won the Super Bowl that, what's his face? Who was the slot receiver? Oh, my God. Who was the slot receiver when the Eagles won the Super Bowl? Did they trade? Why am I going?
Went to Vegas?
Oh, Nelson Aguilar.
Nelson Aguilar.
I'm sorry, yes.
By the way, is he available?
No, I think he's with the Patriots. So
okay.
Oh yeah, he is. He signed with them last year, right? I didn't think he was ready to go to a number 2, but fortunately it worked out. DeAndre Hopkins, though.
I mean, it would be wickedly.
It'd be
amazing.
Yeah,
that would be so much fun. It would be so much fun. I don't know, Pat. I tried to do yesterday because I got a little bored. You know, you sit around a lot on the porch, resting and convalescing. I tried to figure out if you added DeAndre Hopkins. I'm just going to ask you guys, how many pass attempts is that a year for Jalen Hurts? And how many targets go to what guy? Like, how do you do it?
I'm throwing the ball 35 times a game easy.
Okay, if you're throwing it 35 times, that's a good one because that's the number that I came up with. I was working off 35 to 38 pass attempts a game, anywhere in that range. How do you do it? Because Dallas Goedert's in this mix too.
Yeah, there's that.
I mean, seriously, how do you do it?
it's a good problem to have.
It would be, but the thing is, here's the one thing I walked away saying.
I was just playing devil's advocate.
There would be the week that Devontae Smith would get 4 targets. And there would be the week that Devontae Smith gets 15 targets. The way last year, Devontae Smith got none in the first game? And then in the second game goes off. That's like 10, whatever it was.
Yeah.
I think that Devontae Smith would be the guy that was the odd man out.
Oh, I don't think that at all. No.
So okay, what do you think?
No, I think Devontae Smith's still your number 2 option. I think, if anything,
Hopkins would be the move the chain guys?
Yeah, I think Dallas Goedert would end up losing some targets.
So Goddard would be the one who would lose some targets?
I think, yeah. But I also don't think Hopkins is coming.
Oh, I don't think he's coming either.
But in this hypothetical scenario,
yes.
I think Dallas Goedert would probably lose some targets.
So if you had Jalen Hurts playing 15 games.
I mean, if you think about this.
Which is what he's played his first 2 seasons as a starter, 15 games, and he threw the ball 35 times, it'd be like 595 throws. That would be over 135 throws more than he's attempted in a season. That's a lot.
Well, one thing I'm expecting this year is...
Now, this is all just fantasy. Don't get crazy saying,
I'm also saying, though, I believe that it would be I believe they're going to be more throws out of the backfield to running backs this year.
Yeah. Well, Swift is a good pass catcher.
Yes.
So
I think
not?
that changes. But that also takes away passes from the wide receiver. Or does it just take away carries? I sat there yesterday like an idiot on Memorial Day figuring out, and I was going, DeAndre Swift, Dallas Goedert, Hopkins. I was playing with it saying, okay, where does he go with it? And how could you possibly make this work? I love it, though. I love the thought of it. I still want a veteran wide receiver in here. I want one more, but I don't think you're going to get one. I think they're set with what they're going with.
Yeah, I don't think DeAndre Hopkins is coming here. No. And your best, like I said, your greatest point to it is that they have other holes to fill.
Exactly.
Yeah. Although Pat's response was perfect also in saying, I'll take it. It's just like I say about anything. Give me the best players and you're going to make it work. Forget with fit or who gets what. Get the best players. You should be able to make it work. But the Eagles have more needs than getting another wide receiver right now.
Another wide
probably.
receiver would be a little
another
bit of an
star
overlap.
wide receiver especially.
All right, if he ends up being a Chief, what would you think?
Then I'd be pissed off he's not an Eagle.
I mean, seriously. Pat, you know Andy Reid's at least sniffing.
Yeah, because that receiving core isn't all that great in Kansas City. They could use him more than the Eagles could use him.
No question.
But if I'm him, yeah, I'm probably looking at KC first.
I'm thinking, wow, I could go play
put
with
up numbers in
Mahomes.
KC and play with Mahomes. Like, that's pretty tantalizing. Whereas in Philly, you've got
so many
AJ
guys
Brown
to compete with.
Yeah, it's not like I don't want to compete if I'm DeAndre Hopkins, but it's just I'm going to be able to put up numbers with Pat Mahomes and possibly win a Super Bowl. Yeah, I'd probably rather go there.
Looks like it's going to be it could be an interesting story. I do not believe the Eagles will be any part of it.
I don't think so. I don't.
But it's
feel
intriguing.
It.
I sat there on Memorial Day dreaming about it.
Sure.
And I'm excited about where they're at.
OTA start today?
Is it today the first day?
I believe so.
I'm very excited about where they're at though, and where they're potentially going. Very much all on board, totally in, feel good. Think things could be really, really exciting and interesting.
Somebody said the other day, and I think it's the first time it's ever been said in my lifetime. I think Jamie said it, that this is truly a get to the Super Bowl or bust kind of year.
Absolutely, it is. And there should be no less expectation. The NFC is not that.
Now, maybe we said it before the 04 season when they got T.O.
Oh, yeah, that was it because they'd lost. They'd lost so many.
Probably.
They'd lost the 3 NFC title games before it. So
Yeah.
absolutely, we said that. But I think it's almost Super Bowl win or bust.
It's weird because
you're down by 3. I mean, you lost the Super Bowl by 3.
Yeah.
And by the way, Devontae Smith was getting grief last week about the fumble, about mentioning that, well, we lost the Super Bowl by 3 and we fumbled and gave them a touchdown.
He's not wrong.
He's not wrong, and people were giving him grief about it, that he was like ripping on Jalen Hurts. The facts aren't ripping on it.
No.
If Jalen Hurts doesn't fumble, the Eagles win the Super Bowl. Period. They win that game. There's no other scapegoats. There's no other. That's the bottom line. And Devontae Smith is getting grief from people about it. By the way, I hope Devontae's feeling really good this morning with the Celtics going down in flames. I hope he's feeling a little bit of pain this morning. Keith Jones will be in studio today with Anthony. Jonesy in the building today at noon.
That'll be a good conversation.
It'll be a very good conversation. Pat, your thoughts on it? First glance, now that you've gotten to hear, Danny Briere will be with us for First Friday on Friday. Your first impressions of the idea of the combo of Jones and Briere. I did not get to hear much of what you had to say on it, and I'm very interested in what you think about it.
I haven't truthfully really listened to anything they've said because nothing they say is really gonna matter. It's just gonna be a matter of like what they do.
Okay,
they're playing.
But what about philosophy?
Like their philosophy going forward? It's like you got to listen to all players. Okay, obviously, and I'm interested to hear Jonesy more with Anthony because Anthony's really good at being able to get something out of other guests that a lot of people don't because, as Bob Lade said earlier, he makes it a conversation. It's not an interview.
Makes you comfortable.
So, yeah, I think he'll be able to get more out of Jonesy than maybe just a press conference, but they're going to have to realize that the window is I don't want to say it's not shut. Like the Sixers, I think, the window's shut. But the window being open leads you to believe that they can contend. And the Flyers are so far from contending. But I think the difference between Danny Briere and Keith Jones and the former regime is that those two know what this team is.
Yes.
Whereas Chuck Fletcher and his group thought that they could, squeeze blood out of a stone, and that wasn't going to happen. I mean, the Tony D'Angelo move was the dumbest thing I think I've ever seen, and it still looks dumb. So I don't see a Tony D'Angelo-esque move this year in the offseason where you're giving up draft equity in order to bring in a 1-year, 2-year stopgap in a position that might make you from the 5th worst team to the 7th worst team. So, but it all leads to it's going to probably lead to a very interesting draft day for the organization.
Okay, I got to ask you a question, though. And this is something to put it out there. And, Coach, I'd love to hear your thought on this, too. I've known Keith we've been friends for probably 18 years. And I've always called him Jonesy. I actually think it's sort of inappropriate now.
Oh, God, no.
That he's the president.
No.
You do not.
No.
Because of the level of familiarity, Pat, I don't want to give him a free pass or give him less scrutiny. And I think the Jonesy thing sort of, even though he's even in my phone as that, I think it almost lends to that. The comfortable nature of that familiarity is I don't want to give him a free pass with this because he knows it too. We talked. He checked in with me twice after my cancer diagnosis. We've talked, had a long conversation. He knows what's ahead of him, and he knows this business. You know what I mean?
There's going to be a honeymoon period for him, for you, I think, just because you're close with him and you like the hiring, and so I think you're probably a little bit away from having to really criticize him.
Correct.
Moves. So I think for the time being, you're fine. With all due respect to Keith Jones, he's not the president of the United States. You don't have to call him Mr. President.
No. I'm just saying.
I know you wouldn't do that, but you also
do I call him Keith?
You know him personally. There's no hiding it.
Okay.
It's like if Bob all of a sudden became president of Beasley Media. I'm still calling him Bobby.
He'd be Cooney Media then.
Or Coon Dog, as your
it would be
voice
Coon
called.
Dog Media, right?
Yeah,
I think that's the name you decided to go with.
Yeah,
Sure.
like if Coach all of a sudden pulled a succession and went from basically what he is now, the Willow role,
right, to
top dog, I would still call him a-hole.
If you had a reverse stock split, it would be Coon Dog Media.
That's right.
That's what it would be. That's how it would work.
Yeah, you just keep. I honestly, I think he'd probably.
I think so too.
Calling him Jonesy.
Hey, Suarez, Nola, Walker versus the Mets. And I know Pat has already laid out the doomsday scenario of the Game 3 starter. By the way, 1 o'clock Thursday baseball, Bob.
Love it.
Lunch plans. 1 o'clock. Max Scherzer on the mound. Is the boogeyman there? You got to find a way to set the tone versus the divisional opponent. And last year, the Mets tore their heart out. So I'm setting a goal for the next 3 games, and I want to know if you guys think they can reach it. If I was the Bet Parks app and they put up today Kincade special, it would be the next 3 games. Could the Phillies get over or under 17.5 innings from their starters? Suarez, Nola, Walker versus the Mets. I'm setting the line at 17.5 innings, so it's an average of 6 innings. And I will tell you that I'm betting the over.
Okay.
I think they're going to get 18 innings out of the 3 starters.
You got to get 7 or 8 out of Nola, not just because to eat innings, anything like that, because that means he's pitching well.
Setting a tone.
And if he can do that for you, if he can, especially after what Wheeler did his last outing, and maybe he shows signs, yeah, that's great. Suarez is the key here if you're going to bet the over. He's the absolute key.
Got to be efficient. He's got to be more efficient than he's been, and he hasn't been.
He hasn't. He's got to be a 5-6 inning guy for you. And does he have that in him? I don't know. Walker, I could see go out and getting you 6-7 innings.
I do too. And I think he'd be motivated to do it against the Mets.
Sure.
And then Nola has pitched well against the Mets. That's why, Pat, I'm predicting starting pitching to be on display during this Mets series.
It would make me feel a lot better than to see a pitcher, and this is a crazy thought here, but go maybe 6+.
Well, it's stupid, by the way, to do this, but I was actually proud of the performance in Atlanta. Now, Sunday night's performance sucked, but I was proud of the performance. I think that going in there and winning 2 of the 4 games, that's all I expect in a 4-game series.
Yeah,
in the division. I want them to win the 2 out of 3 when they come here, and just set a tone.
Yeah, I talk often about getting over humps and mentally what it means to do something. the Phillies beating the Braves last year in the playoffs, that may have gotten them to a point where they feel real comfortable playing against them. So going there, taking 2 of third, trying to take 3 or 4, but getting a split there, probably something they totally expected. Now, are the Mets that hump team now, that team that you're just like, we stink against them? Is that something you need to get through? Maybe. Maybe you need to do that, and maybe this is the time to do it.
The one thing I knew against the Phillies look totally comfortable against the Braves.
Yeah, they do.
They look they're unfazed by that building. They're unfazed by facing that team. And that means everything. Show me the same thing against the Mets the next 3 nights. Show me that. Show me that you can go out there, even if you don't win the series, you don't get swept, you play well, you lose a tight one, whatever it is. But I want 2 out of 3, because if you go out there on the road and you win 4 out of the first 7 on the road in your division, then I'm feeling good, because I think in June, then the mandate is win a series against the Braves, win a series against the Mets, and bring this thing back to normalcy. And
you know what else? Go out and beat an ace.
Yes.
We assume so many times, and I'm guilty of it also, but the way they could win 2 or 3, they got Scherzer coming up. They could win, I don't know if they're going to beat Strider. It's always that. Well, no, go and beat an ace. Go and thump an ace. Go and, give him one of his 5-6 losses on the season. Just go out and do it.
And they've done well against some good pitchers in the past.
Yeah.
Some big pitchers in the past.
Make it a habit.
I mean, let's go. Let's see what you can do here. So we started the day, and we're going to end the day talking about Nick Nurse. And Nick Nurse being the new coach of the Philadelphia 76ers. Pat, you said it earlier. I think you're like me. I thought he was the white whale that wasn't coming, because I really did believe he was the best coach available. And I thought he was not coming.
I kind of thought it was going to be Monty Williams, just because of the familiarity with this roster, but the organization as well, because I thought Nick Nurse, having his kind of pick of the litter, would choose Milwaukee or Phoenix, which, in my humble opinion, have better rosters right now than the Sixers.
I don't think it's a humble opinion. That's the right opinion.
But, I mean, the Sixers have Furkan Korkmaz.
That's the truth.
And that might be the difference maker.
Can't sell it short.
We can't ignore Furkan.
You got to grow him. You got to continue to try to grow him.
That caller today was the caller of the day.
Yeah.
Hey, if he can get anything out of the guy, sure.
Exactly.
Maybe all of a sudden he will turn into Tony Kukoc.
I just wonder about the player development angle. Where is it? Where's the player development angle come from on this roster?
Well, it's hard to develop players if you don't have a scouting department that can identify players. And I brought it up when you were gone, John, but the last undrafted free agent they've had was TJ McConnell. Meanwhile, the Miami Heat are balling out with a new undrafted free agent every game going off. And the Sixers are sitting. And it's not like, by the way, when they identified these undrafted free agents and signed them, it's not like they didn't have solidified pieces there. It's not like they didn't have players. It's not like, they weren't trying to win, but they also realized, all right, we can get a Duncan Robinson in, we can get a Max Strus, we can get a Gabe Vincent. We can get these guys in here.
You're pissing me off with those names.
Yeah, it's annoying.
It actually pisses me off.
I mean, the Sixers do not, their summer league roster will come out, and it'll be highlighted by Jaden Springer, and it'll be a bunch of guys that probably aren't going to make the team because the scouting department of the Philadelphia 76ers blows. It's just not good. And if they're listening, I mean, just look yourself in the mirror, because you haven't developed anybody. You haven't been able to get an undrafted free agent here that makes the team. That's pretty depressing.
It's a big part of what Nick Nurse is going to have to do when he gets here, and it is player development. We look at Paul Green and we say, or B-ball Paul, I'm sorry, and say, that's what he is right now. Well, Paul Reed's not there yet. He's not, to think he's as good as he's going to be, you can't say that. So they have to develop him.
Can't.
No, so you have to develop him. Then you look at a Springer, and you even look at the McDaniels and the Meltons. Those guys have to get better, and they're young players. And if this team is going to get out of that second round, if they're going to run it back, and you bring up the Harden situation and the Embiid stuff and whatever, well, you're going to have to get more from your secondary players also.
No, I get you.
So it's incumbent upon Nick Nurse to grow those guys too. To your point, you have to have player development. And to Pat's point, they haven't had it all that well lately. Nick Nurse has had a good string of growing young players in Toronto.
The one thing I'm not going to do, though, is just keep doing I'm not kicking the can down anymore with this crew.
No.
The old
they don't deserve it.
I mean, because it's and honestly, and I don't mean to be busting chops on people that came with this take, but the whole, aren't you enjoying the season? Can't we just enjoy the wins? Bullcrap. The time is over for that. The time's over for this Sixers franchise.
I'm not hearing a lot of that so far.
Well, I hope not.
I mean, we're like,
I don't want to hear it again because I got lectured. I got lectured on sports radio by many about, you're being a Negadelphian if you don't believe in the Sixers. Just enjoy what they're doing. They're winning 50-some games. They're doing it. What the hell are you talking about? The entire process was supposed to be about winning a championship. You haven't gotten out of the second round yet. It's a freaking disaster. Disaster. Stop spinning it any other way. Stop it. Stop playing kick the can. And I don't know why anybody believes that James Harden is an answer to any question. I don't. I'm not buying it, and I refuse to buy in. It's something I won't, because I've seen it over and over again. And he's not being unfairly criticized. He disappeared, and he looked disinterested. I think Embiid and Harden looked disinterested in that Game 7.
Yeah.
And Game 6, they were both.
They were invisible. You needed them the most, they weren't there for you.
Game 6, they needed Dr. Avidan Appel to visit them in the locker room at halftime. Because they had a game, they had a crowd, they had everything set right in front of them, and they just weren't able to deliver. And that's incredible to me. That's fascinating.
I'd rather see you fail trying than not trying at all.
Yes.
And that's kind of what we saw in that Game 6 and Game 7.
The thing is, though, did you see fight? Did you see desire? Because I didn't. And I hate questioning that. I always hate questioning a guy's will to win because I think it's something that is very nebulous and very sort of intangible. But I didn't see it. My eyes didn't see it. I didn't see a team desperate. I didn't see a team fighting. I saw a listless response.
Yeah, somebody brought up to me, do they hate to lose more than they love to win? Because they say that's what drives, the ultimate athlete. Like
Hating
they hate to lose so much that they won't allow it. Nah, didn't see that.
Oh, I don't think this team hates to lose.
So you don't think
I do not think this team hates to lose. I think that is a lie that every single athlete will tell you. Oh, I hate losing.
Yeah.
Okay, some don't.
Well,
some are just content. Some are happy that they're rich and they have fame and all that. Some get annoyed with losing, but is it keeping them up at night? It's something, Bob, you've talked about a lot. The AAU culture in today's day and age of it's on to the next game. These players aren't sitting with losses because they have another one. Well, I just get the sense that this Sixers team, and it's been like this for years, these guys don't hate to lose. It doesn't eat at them. It eats at me as a fan. Well, it eats at the city, but it doesn't eat the players. They don't care.
I would tell you, Pat, the places where you can use your name to get in free before 11 o'clock, and it maybe is unfair of me. Maybe it's completely like I'm out of line with it. But to me, I saw it working in professional sports, working on broadcast teams for teams. I saw European hockey players that after a loss were joking, laughing, smiling, putting on their suits, and heading on out to the clubs. And it pissed me off. And I saw American players that were obsessed with losing, that were sitting in there. By the time the European players had left the locker room, all ready to head to the clubs or go to dinner or whatever, there were American players or Canadian players that were sitting in their stalls still pissed off about the loss.
It reminds me a little bit of the scene in Miracle when they're breaking down the first film session of the Soviets. And one of the players says, oh, well, they're Russians. They get shot if they smile. Yeah, it's a little bit of a different dynamic.
Yeah,
it's you're coming from a different culture where it's like, oh,
but I think some NBA.
Wait, I'm not hated right now because I lost a game and I can just kind of enjoy life.
But I think some NBA players have the European mentality and they're American citizens.
Yeah, I agree with that.
That they don't. They're out at the clubs afterwards. Oh, and it's like, well, player wants to unwind any way they want to unwind. Really? I don't know about you, but that's not what I want. How about this? It's not the optics I want to see when underachievement has been the rule.
But it probably happened a lot more than
we knew.
Oh,
you're right.
With
You're
the
right.
day and age of social media, I mean, the idea that just name a sport that all of them just went home after a tough loss and didn't go and visit Cinnamon on the main stage, it's a little foolish.
Dynasty?
Yeah.
Well, Bob knows. I mean, the Flyers used to roll into, but it was mostly in Victory, used to roll into a certain Jersey bar.
Sure.
That was huge. You could go in and get, there were things, but that tended to be in times of success. It's almost like, and it's stupid, maybe stupid on my part, to say, you go out and you have a great game. I don't mind what you're doing after the game. You go out and play like crap, and you're able to shrug it off and go out in public and go to clubs, go to restaurants, go to bars. I'm sorry, I'm not about it. I'm not about it. I think it sucks. I think it's a bad message, too.
I hear you with the optics. As a human being,
of it, right.
The optics, I hear you. As a human being, if I'm going to try to be mature about it and all that stuff, does it affect your next game? That's all I care about. Okay, you had a bad game. What do? Do you harp on it more than let it go? I don't know. I'm in between. If there's something that you like to do when you're done a game, win or lose, who am I to prevent you from doing it? Some guys, like if you play a bad game, I'm going to tell Drew Holiday, no, don't go home and play, PlayStation because you had a bad game.
Well, I don't care what you do when I can't see you.
Well, I hear you, but they're still human beings. I don't know if I can say. I understand the optics.
No, I get
totally
you. I get you.
The only time I really care about it is if it's back-to-back. If you lose a game and go out to the club or whatever.
So you don't care if it's as long as it's not a back-to-back, you don't care.
Yeah, but in back-to-back, it's like you got a game the next day.
Yeah, or Joel Embiid dancing at a concert. What was it, Pat? Dancing at a concert when he was supposed to have a bad knee?
Yeah, it was a Meek Mill concert. Yeah.
That's not good.
Immaturity.
That's not good because of two reasons. One, optics. What the hell are you doing out dancing? But two, he was out with a bum knee. What in the hell are you doing?
Drew Holiday told a story one time, and it was a phenomenal story about when he was with the Sixers. They blew a 20-point lead in the fourth quarter or something, lost the game. Next day, he runs to Target, and the security guard at Target saw him and said, "How dare you show your face?"
What?
And Drew was like, "Damn, dude, I need to get toilet paper. Like, my bad."
God, I feel like...
But that's, for that security guard, the optics of this guy having the audacity to show his face after a 20-point loss, security guard didn't want to see that. He's going to a job he probably hates, and now he's got to see the point guard that just ruined his night the previous night. He doesn't want to see it. But it brings the whole thing back to they're people. Now going to get toilet paper is a little bit different than going to see Mercedes on the side stage, but whatever.
I got to tell you this is that James Harden's going to be 34 in August.
What's wrong with 34?
Happy birthday.
Yeah.
34, 35, 36. I do not want to pay for it.
Well, good news is you don't have to. It's Josh Harris's money.
I don't want to pay.
You don't have to pay for it.
No, but I got to root for it.
They're not going to charge you anything.
I got to root for it.
No, you don't.
You don't have to if you don't want to.
No, I do because
it's off.
I don't have I'm not rooting for another team.
Well, no, but you take a year off.
Can't take a year off.
Yeah, just don't watch the NBA.
Take a sabbatical. My professors in college.
A sabbatical?
Oh, what happened to Professor so-and-so? Oh, they take a sabbatical. Oh, what's that? Yeah, they just get paid, but they take a year off.
Wow, that's a good
deal.
deal.
They can just come back.
And then what do they do?
I think I'm going to take a sabbatical.
A sabbatical from the
You're
Sixers?
supposed to travel around like the globe and kind of learn in your profession.
I thought that's what the Australian kids did.
I don't know.
Isn't that a Rumpelstiltskin or something?
I think the Sixers have forced
the Amish kids do
sabbatical.
Don't the Amish kids take a Rumpelstiltskin or something?
I don't know.
Rumpelstiltskin?
It's called Rumspringer.
Rumspringer.
Come on, man.
You knew that.
The Amish kids.
That's good knowledge.
Rumspringer.
Hey.
Yeah. So, they get to test the other
Why do you make it sound like Colonel Klink?
That's what they scream. They scream Rumspringer.
Rumspringer.
Yeah. It's the fun and frivolity of seeing how technology works.
Wow, that's amazing.
What is this? It's a phone?
You're fun and frivolity, Pat. That's what you are. Hey, support life-saving cancer research. Join us and our generous partners, Win Donation, and make a donation today to the American Association for Cancer Research. Do it at 97.5thefanatic.com/AACR because I am living proof. I've done it twice, and I'm planning to do it a third time. There is no other acceptable outcome. There's only one. That's our family slogan that we've created on. I'm going to leave it with you today. We have a little family digital board, a little board that we have in the house, and that is the slogan that I've chosen. there is only one acceptable outcome, and the AACR works for it hard. 97.5thefanatic.com/AACR.